Shening in the suburbs of Ishui City did not kneel. Her legs' white silk had transformed from translucent to thick black, reducing this seemingly word-following pressure. And what about Duan Yun, who was at the core of the most oppressive pressure? Of course, Duan Yun would not kneel. Not to mention this pseudo-man Gu Dil today, even if the emperor were to come back to life and descend upon the world, he would not kneel. He wields the thunder-fire great sword of Tong Yu. Even the gods will face slaughter before him. The young hero only recognizes right and wrong, not any class or species. Looking at Duan Yun, who did not kneel, Gu Dil's anger had already reached its peak. His pink hair fluttered like flames, and the corpses of the 17 arhats, connected to his body, had become intertwined with gold powder, as if they were about to become real golden body arhats. The next moment, the corpses of the 17 arhats simultaneously emitted a dragon roar, rushing towards Duan Yun together with Gu Dil. The corpses of the 17 arhats were like dragons, and the power Gu Dil burst out was also dragon-shaped. The pink dragon head came with a force like the seas overturning. Among the Jianghu people here were survivors from that grand martial arts event, moon-hooking Cyan Dragon, who had witnessed the Azure Dragon appear and slay Jianghu people consecutively. But even that true Azure Dragon was far less overbearing than the power in front of them resembling a dragon. Truly overwhelming. This domineering power made them instinctively feel inferior, extremely inferior. Even if they were kneeling, they still felt it was not enough, not worthy enough to witness such domineering power. So many wore their underpants tightly on their heads, exposing only their eyes to continue watching. First coming at Duan Yun were 4 arhats' corpses in a mix of gold powder. They spun, connected by meat tendons grown by Gu Dil, like the dreaded blood dripper in Jianghu, approaching Duan Yun. But Duan Yun's thunder-fire great sword swept across, clashing into them. The thunder-fire great sword was already imposing, mixed with pitch-black death energy, filled with ominous meaning. Hod 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 hod. Like the 1,000 hammer forging in an iron workshop, it could refine ores into sharp swords. The thunder-fire great sword twisted and deformed the arhats' corpses until they shattered. Duan Yun was amazed to find that in such a short time, these arhats' corpses had obtained a metallic sensation. The corpses shattered by the sword scattered downwards, knocking over many people. Among them, 2 were killed by the vital organs of 2 arhats. At a glance, the heads of those 2 dead bloodthirsty spectators seemed to have grown 2 vital organs emitting metallic luster. Duan Yun slashed through 4 arhats, but the thunder-fire great sword dimmed somewhat. He had to admit, the strength of the young master of the Gu family who had taken medicine had indeed increased considerably, seemingly even more than several times. The key was that kind of oppressively pure power instilling fear. Soon more arhats attacked. The thunder-fire great sword continued to sweep relentlessly. When the bodies of 17 arhats were all slashed, even though Duan Yun repeatedly condensed thunderfire, ultimately the thunder-fire great sword could no longer gather, dispersing into thunderfire fragments. And at this moment, an even more terrifying pink dragon head had arrived. Rotate. Damn electromagnetic sword field of 10,000 horses. Rotate. Duan Yun's whole body emitted electricity, and in an instant electric light spread from him, forming an electromagnetic sword field. Even the tiniest dust was held immobile by the electric light, as if about to be instantly refined. The violent pink dragon head charged into the violent electromagnetic sword field, and in a flash, giant electric light chains grabbed the dragon head. The pink dragon's strength continued to roar. The electric chains in the electromagnetic sword field kept expanding, while more electric swords turned into sword rain, slashing towards the pink dragon head. At this moment, Duan Yun's extraordinary wisdom unfolded, already utilizing the electromagnetic sword field to the fullest. Within the sword field, I am invincible. Yet the strength of this pink dragon head seemed not to belong to the mortal world, carrying unmatched power, breaking the electric light chains and continuing to crash towards Duan Yun in the center of the sword field. This crash was not fast, could even be described as slow, yet the contained strength was astonishing. For Duan Yun had pushed the electromagnetic sword field to such an extent Theoretically, not even the strongest attack divine crossbow capable of piercing mountains and breaking seas should be able to move at all. Yet the opponent could still move. The force is mutually acting. This situation is like the string of a bow fully drawn back. If it loses control, it becomes difficult to manage. Duan Yun alongside the sword field moved back a zhang. The pink dragon head continued forward. Although it dimmed somewhat midway, it still pushed forwards. Thousand heroic fire lotus. Blossom. In front of Duan Yun, thousand heroic fire lotus bloomed into a sea of fire. The pink dragon head was blasted to pieces and swayed, struggling to continue forward. At this moment, even the most bloodthirsty spectators had withdrawn several miles away. It was instinctive fear and retreat, like mice fearing snakes, an existence rooted deeply in the soul, not something bloodthirstiness could resist. If the martial artists previously broke their ribs just to get a good spot, they would still push forward, but at this moment, everyone in Ishui City was retreating desperately. The scene before them was too violent and magnificent, instinctively terrifying them. It was like two gigantic monsters. Fear had completely enveloped the city inside and out. Are these still humans? The pink dragon head continued to press down. The electromagnetic sword field continued to bind violently. Strike the sword. The heroic fire lotus continued to stack heavily, burning. The shattered stones crushed around were pulled by the electromagnetic sword field, floating in the air, and in a flash, compressed into fiery red powder by the heroic fire lotus and pink dragon strength. The battle between both parties had reached the final moments. The pink dragon head became somewhat dim. The range of Duan Yun's electromagnetic sword field was also shrinking, and the newly born heroic fire lotus was far less rapid and dense than before. Sweat was forming on Duan Yun's forehead. He felt he could hold on for half a cup of tea's time. This was a pure contest of strength and endurance. He hadn't expected that the opponent, having taken 17 shots of the foul-smelling foot drug, could enhance their power to this extent. The key was that he could hold on for half a cup of tea's time, yet the opponent was still pressing forward with seemingly endless strength. Old Demon Duan, let me see where your limit lies. Old Demon Duan, you're done for, but I'm still strong. The power of 17 dragons. How could a mere mortal compare? Keep pushing for me. Duan Yun controlled the electromagnetic sword field to keep retreating, feeling something wrong, and angrily shouted, "Extraordinary wisdom, what's going on? How could his power be above mine? Extraordinary wisdom, I command you to solve everything." Ugh! Just as Duan Yun's voice fell, Gu Dil suddenly let out a cry, appearing to have difficulty breathing. At the same time, he hurriedly covered his neck, with the openings connected to the 17 arhats on his body opening and closing, like mouths taking big breaths. Immediately after, he suddenly knelt down. The seemingly unbeatable pink dragon head strength also faded, showing signs of collapse. The bloodthirsty storyteller's eyes were bleeding. No way. Brother. Critical moment. As a gynecologist, Duan Yun insightfully declared, I get it. The drug wasn't pure enough and got a backlash from the drug. Upon hearing this, the seemingly suffocating Gu Dil suddenly fumed with anger and said, Nonsense. My dragon drug is the purest. It's just my body's insufficient resistance to the drug. Old Demon Duan could insult him, but there was no way to insult his strongest 17 dragon medicine. After saying this, multiple meridians connected to blood vessels in his body had ruptured, and he appeared deflated like a leaking balloon. Ugh! Gu Dil spat out a mouthful of black blood, bleeding from all 7 apertures, and could no longer stand. Duan Yun stood there as the electromagnetic sword field and heroic fire lotus gradually dissipated. The victory was decided. Suddenly, Gu Dil fiercely grabbed his lifeline, ripped it, burst it, and swallowed it down his throat. Bleeding from all 7 apertures, he couldn't help but laugh hysterically. Old Demon Duan, you can't humiliate me now, Duan Yun said with a serious expression. Don't worry, I'm a doctor. I can dig it out and stitch it back for you. He couldn't let down their agreed bird humiliation. You dare. After saying these 2 words, Gu Dil's body fell, and blood spouted like a fountain from his mouth, continuously gushing. Everyone was a bit baffled, including Duan Yun, because Gu Dil was already dead, had stopped breathing, yet the blood was still gushing incessantly. What great chi there was! Couldn't stand to lose like this. The more one couldn't stand to lose, the more the young hero wanted to do it. And the more it was done, the more thrilling it was. If the opponent offended him, he truly intended to drag their corpse out for retribution. The matter of the Gu family divine tomb, exposed by his wife. A wife is only for the strong to possess. That is the great secret of the Gu family. Go. Very strong. The young master of the Gu family was defeated like this, losing when he seemed to be about to win, defeated very suddenly. So suddenly that many Gu family admirers couldn't accept this outcome. The young master exerted his power, the young master took medicine, the young master's 17 dragons' power with an unstoppable force in the world. The old demon retreated, the old demon was at a disadvantage, the old demon retreated step by step, the old demon was dying, the old demon had won. It was their young master who died. To avoid ultimate humiliation by old demon Duan, the young master even swallowed his own life's root. Yet old demon Duan still wouldn't let him go. Could it be that this world is destined for the demon to run rampant? Is there still any justice? Is there still ancient law? Duan Yun stood there breathing heavily, even coughing a bit. I have to admit, today's match of force against force was quite intense. This time it not only made him sweat profusely, but also bled and suffered some internal injuries. It can only be said that the intensity after the opponent used the medicine was not low, even could be described as very strong. It actually pushed him to this extent. The last time he was this seriously injured was when he had to kill that mad woman of Huang Mountain and was hit with a dragon claw. This long-lost feeling of being injured truly made him feel an excitement and wonder he hadn't felt in a long time. He didn't even use demon electricity to heal, because he wanted this kind of state. A state of both internal and external injury. Duan Yun wanted to rely on high-intensity battles to push the 12 layers of spring rain to a higher level. He believed that high-intensity battles could force out his potential, and to some extent it really did. Just now, he consecutively used Love Unlimited Electromagnetic Sword Field, and Heroic Fire Lotus, and even almost used dream-building skill for tactics, as if his body entered an extremely rare high-intensity state, comparable to having run 3,000 meters, fell, scraped the skin, and still having to do high knee lifts and push-ups. What's the difference from being dead? This kind of severe injury that takes 10 days to half a month to recover seems like a great terror between life and death. The effect of forcing potential is not bad. Born in adversity, die in comfort. That state of internally and externally pained flesh and blood made his mind extremely clear, as if extraordinary wisdom was wide open. The moves of the spring rain flew through his mind swiftly, incomparably clear. His understanding of the 12 layers of spring rain became deeper, discovering that the previous comprehension of extraordinary wisdom was not perfect enough. Or rather, extraordinary wisdom also had gaps. His current extraordinary wisdom is now above that time. The physical pain, the great terror that takes 10 days to half a month to completely recover, motivated him to take a step further. Extraordinary wisdom. Break. At this moment, 10 epiphanies flashed through Duan Yun's mind. He often used a single epiphany to describe extraordinary wisdom, and now it was tenfold. His mind flashed with light, more dazzling than a flashbang. And at this moment, Duan Yun had grasped the essence of elevating the 12 layers of spring rain another step. That essence is pain, suffering. Yes, to elevate the 12 layers of spring rain a step further, to reach the awe-inspiring 10 layers, the body must endure suffering. Suffering is the ladder of the 10 layers of spring rain. Because the power of the 10 layers of spring rain can already let the entire martial world feel pain. And only suffering can bear the sword intent that allows the martial world to feel pain. His current injuries could only recover in 10 days to half a month, extremely painful to the extreme, and the sword intent understood naturally rises with the tide. Inside Duan Yun's body, the sword intent kept rising, breathing rapidly, utterly self-absorbed. In the eyes of the onlookers, Duan Yun should be exhausted and heavily injured, difficult to move. At this time, the bloodthirsty storyteller suddenly shouted, "What are you waiting for? Slaying the demon is timely. Old demon Duan is seriously crippled." Originally, some of the Gu family followers were already intending to seize the opportunity to charge. Although they couldn't be considered Gu family members, they could only be considered the Gu family's dogs. But even the Gu family's dogs were a cut above others. Not to mention they could make a fortune in the martial world because they were the Gu family's dogs. If the Gu family perished like this, they couldn't even be dogs. But at this moment, when the words "Old Demon Duan is seriously crippled" emerged, they instead seemed to be doused with a bucket of ice water, not only cooled down but even wilted. Old Demon Duan and the critically wounded Old Demon Duan were the same person, but not the same species, just like certain taboos in the martial world, untouchable. The bloodthirsty storyteller, seeing this, was so anxious that he almost vomited blood. This time it's true. Really true. The bloodthirsty storyteller never expected that the illusion of the severely crippled old demon that he had been cultivating would actually have a counterproductive effect at this moment. This time, the Gu family's young master dueling Old Demon Duan was a rare event in the martial world, and also a rare opportunity to eliminate the old demon. And so, those who came to fan the flames were all the elite of the bloodthirsty storytelling sect. Or rather, those who could rank in the top 100 in front of Tai Sui. Their storytelling achievements were illustrious, not only having a group of die-hard listeners themselves, but their die-hard fans could also influence others, the rumors in the martial world, not knowing how many were related to them. This kind of fanning of the flames easily caused martial world people and sects of all sizes to hate and kill each other, not knowing how many people were violently killed because of this. But the bloodthirsty storyteller not only didn't care about this, but instead thoroughly enjoyed it. Thinking that all the martial world's woes were related to them, they couldn't help but puff out their chests, feeling that they could manipulate the martial world. But the Jade Pearl heroes led by Old Demon Duan instead brought them enormous trouble, and Old Demon Duan even organized a great hero storytelling sect against them. This was simply a challenge to the prestige of the bloodthirsty storytelling sect. The bloodthirsty storyteller would never allow such a thing to exist. At this moment, looking at this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, the bloodthirsty storyteller was completely anxious. They are the pillars of the bloodthirsty storytelling sect. Reflecting on the grievances they have suffered recently, they decide to fight Old Demon Duan. They plan to go themselves.
Tai Sui, grant me this. Tai Sui, grant me this.
They suddenly shout in the crowd. Almost simultaneously, about a dozen bloodthirsty storytellers take out a piece of meat from their bosoms. Or rather, it looks like mud. The meat appears black, and at first glance, resembles mud. But upon closer inspection, it has a fleshy look. The bloodthirsty storytellers keep repeating that sentence while swallowing this black meat. The black meat seems dirty and disgusting. Yet the bloodthirsty storytellers' faces show an expression of extreme enjoyment, as if they are not eating filthy black meat, but dragon liver and phoenix gall, a delicacy hard to find in the human world. In their hearts, it is indeed more precious than dragon liver and phoenix gall, because this is Tai Sui meat, the treasure of the bloodthirsty storytelling sect. Only the most bloodthirsty storytellers can possess it. Once Tai Sui enters the stomach, your fate is mine, not the heavens. At this moment, the eyes of the bloodthirsty storytellers suddenly turn pitch black, like bottomless abysses. Old Demon is severely wounded. Everyone, follow my command. Slay the demon. Slay the demon. At this time, the dogs of the Gu family, who had calmed down, suddenly became frantic. They calmed down because they were fearful, not because they didn't want to act. Now, under the rallying cry of the bloodthirsty storytellers, they can't hold back any longer. Slay the demon! Slay the demon! In Ishui City, half of the Jianghu people originally came with the Gu family. Some were dogs eating the Gu family's favors. Some wanted to curry favor by being dogs, and some simply hated Old Demon Duan's antics and came to support. It could be said this was the Gu family's home ground. With the empowerment of Tai Sui meat, the bloodthirsty storytellers erupt with unprecedented persuasive power. The Jianghu guests supporting the Gu family charge forward madly, intending to slay old demon Duan. Even those who were originally neutral are incited to join the demon slaying. After all, Jianghu people love to follow trends. With so many people going to slay demons, wouldn't they seem out of place if they didn't go? At this time, the forefront demon-slaying Jianghu guests have arrived. They are bewildered by the bloodthirsty storytellers, watching Duan Yun standing still, their eyes sparkling. See me wield my blade and slay the old demon to make a name for myself. Poochie 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 poochie. Duan Yun doesn't even care about these people. Instinctively feeling them like pesky mosquitoes, his breaking body sword energy erupts, piercing through them like a sieve. The people behind still charge forward fearlessly to slay the severely wounded old demon Duan. Those who hate Duan Yun the most often charge the fastest. Logically, after Duan Yun slayed Gu Dil, their attitude would have been angry but unable to express it openly, only cursing old demon with thousands of times. However, at this moment, spurred by the bloodthirsty storytellers, they act according to their heart's desire. One could say they are all emotion without a shred of calmness. The breaking body sword energy continues to surge. From a distance, Duan Yun looks like a swordman covered in swords. Actually, he is barely aware of it. It's more of his body reacting instinctively, as he is engrossed in comprehending the 10-layered spring rain. He has found the path to the 10-layered spring rain, but must fully concentrate and seize every moment. Since if delayed, and the life-threatening injuries heal a bit, wouldn't that affect his comprehension? The rare severe wounds, taking a fortnight to fully heal, strongly stimulate Duan Yun's potential. He feels pain, unprecedented pain. Logically, this pain is akin to falling during a long run, scraping his skin, and having to keep moving, far from the so-called agony of life and death. But he thinks, therefore he is. He says he is in ultimate pain right now, so he is in ultimate pain. No one understands pain better than him. Break for me. In this instant, true chi inside Duan Yun surges, and his whole demeanor changes. If before he was a porcupine or swordman covered in breaking body sword energy, now the pillar-like energy around him starts to thin and shorten. The bloodthirsty storytellers, seeing this, are overjoyed. Old demon is completely finished. Attack now. In the eyes of the bloodthirsty storytellers, Duan Yun's breaking body sword energy has shortened and thinned, indicating he can no longer sustain such a technique. This is truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Ha! But a moment later, a bloodthirsty storyteller suddenly makes a sound of doubt, because the Jianghu people rushing foremost suddenly stop. A bit of red light seeps through the gaps between people. The foremost Jianghu people suddenly fall all over, revealing Duan Yun's handsome figure. At this moment, the bloodthirsty storytellers are dumbfounded. They have traversed the land, spreading rumors and inciting flames, well-versed in martial arts affairs. And they have studied Duan Yun, their most hated opponent, with extraordinary detail. But even they can't make sense of the scene before them. If previously old demon Duan was a swordman enveloped in sword chi, now his body glows red, or rather, he seems to have a layer of red hair, exuding an ominous aura. Yes, ominous. The bloodthirsty storyteller's first reaction is to this word in their mind. As if some taboo has been unlocked, filled with an ominous aura. Old demon Duan growing ominous red hair. What does it signify? Actually, it's not red hair, to be precise, it's blade chi. 10-layered spring rain sword chi. Before, Duan Yun's sword chi was slashed out, generated by accumulating momentum, and now his body itself can contain the sword chi. The sword chi is filled with suffering, so extreme that it gives rise to ominous red feather, which is the true 10-layered spring rain. A sword intent that can make the martial world feel extreme pain. The bloodthirsty storyteller feared unforeseen events occurring. His pupils filled with even more blackness, and a mouth seemed to grow on his chin. He shouted, "Attack!" Old demon Duan is completely done for. The Jianghu people were stirred once again and rushed towards Duan Yun like flesh-eating zombies. Ah! 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 Almost at the same time, shrill screams rang out in succession. uniting into one. And an even more eerie scene appeared. The Jianghu people who screamed all froze in midair, their entire faces constantly twisting and distorting. Even the bloodthirsty storyteller had rarely heard such hair-raising screams and seen such painful expressions. At this moment, the bloodthirsty storyteller saw clearly that these people were pierced by some red lines, suspended in the air. No, those weren't red lines. They were the ominous red feather of old demon Duan. Only Duan Yun knew what kind of red feather was it. It was obviously my sword chi. He turned his head, looked around, and angrily said, "You all are too noisy, disturbing my enlightenment." The next moment, his gaze locked on those 10 bloodthirsty storytellers. After swallowing Tai Sui meat, the bloodthirsty storytellers' bodies had already changed, like growing a new mouth, and their senses became sharp. At this moment, they sensed danger. Huge danger. Without any hesitation, the 10 bloodthirsty storytellers all retreated, whispering insidious words while trying to escape. Old demon is formidable. I'll spare you this time." Ah! The shrill screams suddenly erupted, so loud that they were clearly heard several miles outside Ishui City, with echoes resounding. At that moment, Duan Yun suddenly swung his sword, and red line-like sword chi flung out, directly piercing through the bodies of those 10 bloodthirsty storytellers. The moment the red sword chi burst out of their bodies, unprecedented pain instantly coursed through the bloodthirsty storytellers' bodies. How to describe such pain? Even the bloodthirsty storytellers, with their vast vocabulary, found it hard to describe such pain. Duan Yun held the famous sword emitting red lines, floating midair, looking at those bloodthirsty storytellers, and said, "Running after being a big mouth?" During his speech, the red lines trembled, and the bloodthirsty storytellers felt like they were about to explode. Or rather, if they had exploded to death, it would have been a relief. Unfortunately, they simply couldn't die. They felt like every inch of their skin and flesh was giving birth. Even every cell was giving birth. No, it was more painful than that. The pain made them scream, screaming so miserably that some had their throats and vocal cords shattered, yet still screamed madly. They wanted to faint, but it was impossible. The sound was so mournful that even people and animals several miles away shivered as if they were immersed in some massive pain. Duan Yun looked at the sword in his hand, full of spirit, and said, "10-layered spring rain. I've finally achieved it." 10-layered spring rain, besides the extreme pain, means that the sword chi has completely turned from virtual to real. If the previous sword chi was driven by demon electricity, forming a terrifying spin, the spin unlike spring rain, more like ripples on a lake. Then at this point, the spring rain blade chi had finally taken on the fine line-like stature of spring rain. This sword chi can condense without dispersing, not to mention being unleashed at will, allowing those hit to feel unprecedented pain. 10-layered spring rain is indeed extraordinary. The bloodthirsty storytellers suffered unprecedented pain, stuck truly between life and death, and the Tai Sui meat they consumed seemed more sensitive, self-detonating ahead of them. Some bloodthirsty storytellers suffered so much that their mouths crooked to their temples, muttering, "Why? Tai Sui, why didn't you take us with you?" They really wanted to die. At this point, the Jianghu people finally awakened and shouted, "Run! Old demon Duan is ominous." The first to charge were the Gu family lackeys, and now they were the first to run. Duan Yun saw and angrily said, "Who's calling the old demon? Running, are you? Feel the pain together with me." As soon as the words fell, Duan Yun slashed down with his sword. The body of the famous sword was not wide, even narrow, but at this moment, thousands of 10-layered spring rain sword chi formed. They seemed to grow out of the sword with a taste of willow branches. The next moment, amidst the crowd's screams, red line-like sword chi fell like rain, piercing through those fleeing Jianghu guests. The screams of half the city's Jianghu guests were desolate, more desolate than a field of mournful cries. Some felt their entire body's pores were giving birth. Some felt countless life roots grew from their body, and those life roots were simultaneously crushed. Some clearly loved their wife the most, feeling that throughout thousands of reincarnations they would only love their wife, Yet they felt their wife's every pore was cheating. In short, as soon as the young hero wielded the sword, the entire city trembled in pain. This matter was even recorded in later history books. On that day, old demon Duan suddenly grew ominous red feather, and with one sword, 10,000 lines fell. The whole city's devil-slaying heroes were crushed by pain, spending their lives in an inextricable shadow, henceforth incapable of killing or standing, becoming Jianghu wastes. The tale of Duan Yun bringing suffering to the entire Ishui city, with wails filling the air for days, is largely exaggerated. Within this stronghold of Gu family worshippers, quite a few managed to avert disaster. For instance, some who were truly supporters of Duan Yun blurted out, "Young hero Duan, we admire you," and "Young hero Duan, you're amazing," prompting those who witnessed this to quickly follow suit and repeat such insincere praises. It can only be said that Old Demon's survival guide was effective, for anyone who praised young hero Duan's actions escaped unharmed. There's nothing to be done. Who could expect young hero Duan, who has a kind heart, to love hearing words of flattery? As for those who fell victim, there was no saving them. Their pain was indescribable, even by the bloodthirsty storyteller himself. In the end, these people became true failures in the martial world. Those who once relied on the Gu family's influence to commit murder and force business dealings now lived the rest of their lives trembling, devoid of any desire. And the side effects of the 10-layered spring rain went beyond this, including crooked mouths. Due to the intense pain, these people's facial features became twisted and deformed, especially their mouths, some of which twisted all the way to their earlobes, even to their temples. Such individuals later became known as the crooked mouth wastrels. Encountering these wastrels was a delight for the Jianghu guests, as the world of martial arts is one filled with conflict and pent-up frustration, and encountering a crooked mouth person was simply unbeatable. Without a word, a flurry of slaps would ensue, providing immense satisfaction and relief. Afterwards, not only was one's temper cooled, there was no fear of retaliation. For those with crooked mouths were wastrels, less capable than even farmers, let alone the average people who were far more satisfying to beat than farmers. These crooked mouth wastrels, who once basked in arrogance under the Gu family, experienced what it meant to be opposite to the heavenly gang. Supposedly, these crooked mouth wastrels received thousands of slaps a year, with their mouths becoming more and more crooked. The more crooked they became, the more they were slapped, as if trapped in a nightmare they could never awaken from. Moreover, their existence highlighted the terror of Old Demon Duan. Offending Old Demon Duan meant that not only was the Gu family's young master killed, but even the Gu family's supporters had to endure endless suffering, becoming such failures. Duan Yun stood on the city wall, watching his opponents in their incontinent agony, feeling immense satisfaction. The more his enemies suffered, the more delighted he became. From now on, anyone who dares defy me will suffer until they become a crooked mouth. At that moment, a haunting voice echoed, "Do you always have to work so fast?" Duan Yun turned his head and saw a familiar figure. Shining stood there, her legs and arms wrapped in white silk, spotless. Duan Yun said excitedly, "You're out of the coffin?" Shining gave a sweet smile and said, "Yes, just came out and immediately saw your ominous presence." This one emerging from the coffin, the other being ominous, to those who didn't understand, they'd surely assumed these were two monsters. No, one could only say Old Demon Duan was far scarier than a monster. Duan Yun quickly retracted the red feather emanating from his body and said, "How is this ominous? This clearly is a blazing red. Whereas you..." Saying this, Duan Yun began to take a closer look at Shining. The first time Duan Yun saw Shining in the coffin, even mistakenly thinking she was a zombie, she had left him deeply impressed. Because aside from her flat chest, Ying's appearance fully aligned with his aesthetic. As they spent more time together, they gained an old married couple vibe, making it seem less striking. Yet this time, Duan Yun was again amazed. This time, out of the coffin, Ying's legs and arms encased in such tactile white silk, it seemed crafted for someone with his stalking obsession. In other words, A woman whose appearance perfectly fit his aesthetic now had stockings that aligned with his desires. What could he possibly do? Noticing Duan Yun staring at her feet, Shun Ying blushed slightly and said, "What are you staring at?" Xin Ying hadn't worn shoes this time because her 9-death silkworm silk, having evolved, completely repelled dust and was impervious to fire and water. Duan Yun said, "You're not wearing shoes? Aren't you afraid your feet will get dirty?" Xin Ying replied, "Now I have the 9-death silkworm dream silk, untouched by dust and immune to fire and water. How could they possibly get dirty?" It must be said, the current Xin Ying indeed had an enhanced refined quality, giving off an untouched feel, even with her expertise in violent punching. Duan Yun shook his head and said, "I don't believe it." Xin Ying quickly lifted her foot, showing the white silk sole and said, "See for yourself." This translucent white silk revealed the undertone of her skin, and even the silk itself was spotless. One could only say Xin Ying's own developed silkworm silk was truly magical, truly a born stocking's sacred body. At this moment, noticing Duan Yun intently observing, Xin Ying realized she'd been fooled, hastily withdrawing her foot and said, "No more looking." Duan Yun earnestly said, "I'm only verifying. Verification isn't allowed. Even thinking about it isn't allowed. Thinking is perversion. Thinking is perversion." Duan Yun had learned to answer promptly. Duan Yun confirmed, "This Shadow Ying, no matter how many times she emerges from the coffin, remains the same." Young hero Duan had arrived. Young hero Duan had not yet left, because he needed to audit the accounts. Upon entering the city, he paid a silver entry fee, which he remembered clearly and precisely. He wanted to see if the accounts were reasonable, if there was taking from the people to serve the people. This was Xin Ying's first time following Duan Yun in auditing accounts, finding it rather novel. 40 miles outside Yishui City, on the Qingshan Mountain, there lay a hidden mountain villa. The summer in Yu State feels like a furnace, humid and stifling. Only among the Qingshan can one find some coolness. This particular mountain villa is called Qingyin, hidden in the Qingshan. It's a perfect summer retreat. It's said that in summer, not only does the villa enjoy the mountain coolness, but many women practicing the ice frost technique lie naked, channeling their power, allowing the manor master's guests to sit holding them for coolness. Now, even as winter approaches, this summer retreat remains occupied. The fierce Crane Gang's gang leader, Ai Dalei, was sitting on a soft couch holding a very large-chested woman, alongside County Magistrate Zhang Bohu, who held a similarly large-chested woman. At this moment, Ai Dalei couldn't help but sigh. "See, Lord County Magistrate, I told you not to meddle in the Gu family affair. Old Demon Duan is indeed no ordinary man. Before the victory is decided, whether to accept less gold and silver from the Gu family to lessen our involvement in their alliances, especially the absolute ones." The county magistrate of Yishui City, Zhang Bohu, having just received news, wiped his sweat and said, "Brother Ai's wisdom saved me. I almost sided wrongly. When Gu family's young master, Gu Dil, arrived, Yishui City naturally opened its gates, extending the utmost hospitality. The county magistrate, greedy for profit, once considered cozying up to the Gu family, who owned Gold Mountain and Silver Mountain. Previously, he envied his colleague in Wangchun City, also a county magistrate who earned a fortune there. Now Wangchun City has become an unprofitable demon cave, yet the other person's way of making a fortune left a deep impression, leaving the county magistrate wanting to align with the Gu family, turning here into another Wangchun City, or an even greater one to rake in gold. However, at this time, Ai Dalei, the fierce Crane Gang's gang leader, was always his good brother and advised him not to forcibly forge connections and ran outside the city upon hearing news of old Demon Duan's arrival. While the immortals fight, they chose to hide first, not siding with the Gu family. It must be said, this brother's insight is indeed uncommon. His much-anticipated Gu family young master was killed in Yishui City. The Gu family's supporters, too, were tortured by old Demon Duan, unable to die even as they begged for it, mouths crooked. Luckily, they hadn't sided, which meant they hadn't offended old Demon Duan. The whole martial world knows old Demon Duan's mind is the smallest, smaller than a needle's eye. At this moment, the county magistrate couldn't help but ask his subordinate, "Has Mr. Duan, young hero Duan, left yet?" The subordinate shook his head, saying, "No, no. He's having hot pot in the city with a woman who looks like a heavenly immortal." The subordinate replied, "Right, one must eat. After eating, he should leave." No, full and warm thoughts turn to desires. After eating, one would want to play. Once he's tired of playing, he should leave. County Magistrate Zhang Bohu pondered. Then, he ordered, "Keep a close eye on young hero Duan. Don't offend him. Report immediately if there's anything." "Yes." The subordinate left, and the county magistrate inside the villa breathed a sigh of relief, starting to seek pleasure. How lucky not to have sided wrongly. Otherwise, where would he still have the chance to enjoy inside this villa? For a moment, Qingyin Manor filled with a joyful atmosphere. The result was that the joyful atmosphere did not last long. The subordinate reported again. "What's going on?" After eating hot pot, young hero Duan did not go play nor leave. He went to the accounts room. "Which accounts room?" "The one where you and gang leader Ali Dalai collect silver." This statement made gang leader Ai Dalai and county magistrate Zhang Bohu suddenly sober up, cold to the bone. "Why is he going to the accounts room?" "I don't know. Could he be checking the accounts?" "Checking accounts? Why would he check accounts? What's our accounts got to do with him?" The county magistrate was puzzled. At this time, Ai Dalai was sweating, saying, "Young hero Duan, when he started out, killed a county magistrate in his hometown." County magistrate Zhang Bohu couldn't help but exclaimed, "Kill a county magistrate? How dare he?" He unconsciously stopped short of his reprimanding words, instead broke out in goosebumps, asking, "Why did he kill a county magistrate?" It said he claimed that county magistrates' protection fees were unreasonable. Ai Dalai nervously stated, "What's unreasonable about that? It's justified." The county magistrate looked righteous, but his voice was getting softer. "The reason old Demon Duan is called a demon is that he often does things that defy the natural order. This justified action could be a crime in old Demon Duan's eyes." Thus he got a bit panicked, saying, "Brother Ai, is there going to be trouble?" Ai Dalai calmly replied, "Relax. Nothing's going to happen. My accountant is professional, capable of taking the heat when needed." Upon hearing this, County Magistrate Zhang Bohu relaxed slightly. After such a scare, regardless of the beauties with scant clothing or that aged wine, for a moment they lost their appeal. After a period, new news arrived. "Sir, young hero Duan has left with the ferry. They've left the city." Upon hearing this, Ai Dalai and Zhang Bohu couldn't help but laugh heartily. False alarm. False alarm. The accountant is really reliable. The two couldn't help but start drinking again, marveling at how well they had trained the accountant. After a few cups of wine, new news came. "Sir, after leaving the city, young hero Duan seems to be heading toward the mountain." At this, Zhang Bohu and Ai Dalai were flabbergasted. They exchanged glances and made no hesitation to flee. At that moment, Ai Dalai exclaimed, "Send all the beauties in the villa over. Entertain young hero Duan well. Must entertain him well. His Qingyin Manor's ice woman is famous for their ice and fire qualities. If they could stall old Demon Duan for 20 breaths, that would be sufficient for their escape. Let's go. Come with me." Ai Dalai never expected to use the secret passage of his villa. How is old Demon Duan so sinister? He swears he absolutely didn't offend him. Not a hair's worth. After exiting the house and walking towards the secret passage, halfway they encountered a pair of males and females. The man handsome beyond compare, the woman pristine as snow. They looked perfect together. This must be old Demon Duan and the woman like a fairy from his subordinate's description. Old Demon Duan is so ruthless. Even Star Fury can be so purely beautiful. Though this is not the crux. The key point is how old Demon Duan got here so quickly. The villa's 12 ice women, excluding traveling time, Even 10 breaths each shouldn't be this fast. At this time, Fierce Crane Gang leader AI Daily Eye showed a stiff smile, saying, "Young hero Duan arrives here. It's my inability to welcome from afar. Please forgive me." Duan Yun waved his hand, with a friendly demeanor, saying, "How is this a crime? Am I that petty-minded?" AI Daily Eye couldn't help but laugh heartily. The world knows young hero Duan is broad-minded like the sea. How could he be petty-minded? County Magistrate Zhang Bohu joined in the laughter. Except he wasn't truly laughing. The laughter was just his shield. Laughing along, they stopped laughing. Because Duan Yun wasn't laughing. If the young hero isn't laughing but they are, could it cause trouble? At this time, Duan Yun spoke again. "However, there are indeed some crimes you need to address." County Magistrate Zhang Bo couldn't hold himself back, asking, "What crime?" "Your entry fees are unreasonable." With this sentence, the two felt as if the sky was falling. Then Duan Yun said, "The unreasonable can be understood. After all, there are many unreasonable things in this world. I kept thinking, if you could have used any of the illicitly collected silver, even a tenth, later I thought forget a tenth. If there's 100-tael silver used for the people, I could even reluctantly say you used at least a bit for the people. Unfortunately, none. Not even 1 tael silver." As soon as the words fell, Duan Yun and Shin Ying struck simultaneously. Shin Ying's fingertips tugged on silk, instantly brought over the two who wanted to escape. Simultaneously, Duan Yun's knife emitted 2 red lines. Thus, sounds of cries and howls like ghosts and wolves arose. The 2 major figures in the city, who thought they escaped the city's full suffering, now had their mouths crooked too. Pain. So much pain. As they suffered long enough and their howls were too unpleasant, Duan Yun and Shin Ying each delivered a head-exploding punch, then a decapitating cut, executing the end of unreasonable fees. After finishing this deed, the young hero and lady warrior both felt refreshed, thus returned home as a married couple, leaving 2 bodies behind that charged unreasonable fees. The old mountain city had some houses with wild grass growing on the tiles, left unattended. This is just one of the mountain cities in Yu State, appearing quite unremarkable. Mosey City is such an unremarkable mountain city, and like many mountain cities in Yu State, each carries a strange ghost story. And the ghost story of Mosey City is that the sky here is exceptionally dark. Do not travel the wild roads in the dark. This is an ancient lesson passed down in Mosey City. This is all because the sky in Mosey City is always rather dark, and often there are occurrences of people disappearing without a trace while walking the night paths, neither alive nor dead. As for why the sky in Mosey City is darker, where those disappeared people have gone, no one knows. After all, the darkness of the sky is quite a subjective perception. Maybe it's because the mountains there are deep, the trees tall, giving people the illusion of a darker sky. In fact, the darkest part of Mosey City is underground. Darkness, like thick ink, lingers long in the underground space. Even the brightest blood fire candle of Thunderbolt Hall lights up only 2 meters around. Yet, in such an environment, some still move freely. If you observe carefully, you'll find this is not a natural cave but an underground structure. This structure has corridors and pavilions, even clear ponds and bamboo groves, appearing both elegant and eerie underground. In front of a screen embroidered with black and white feathered birds, 3 men knelt, not daring to make a sound. Behind the screen, numerous red strings hung in the air, with ancient coins strung along them. At the end of the red strings was a mass of pitch-black substance. It was an existence blacker than black, like an unfathomable abyss. At this moment, the mass kept trembling, seemingly in anger. The trembling mass caused the ancient coins on the red strings to sway, turning them into strange mouths, thus filling the air with an indescribable human-like language. The sound was neither human nor not. Just hearing it made one shiver in fear. The sound lasted for several moments before it slowly stopped. Only then did the 3 men in blue stand up, drenched in sweat. The man in the middle sighed, "I have served Tai Sui for decades. Never have I seen Tai Sui this angry." The man on the right replied, "There's no choice. Tai Sui's divine power has encountered a rare challenge." "No, It's more than that. Tai Sui said it hurts. Hurt. The green Tai Sui meat was consumed by the divine mouth in the sect, creating a connection with Tai Sui. They suffered immense pain. Even Tai Sui was affected. Does this pain even disturb Tai Sui? The man on the left sweated out. To know, Tai Sui is a true god, earthly suffering should mean nothing to it. There's no choice. That old demon Duan is atrocious, comprehending such an extremely evil demon technique. Even the sect's divine mouth failed after eating the green Tai Sui meat, angering Tai Sui. The leading middle-aged man spoke solemnly. So, big brother now? Now that Tai Sui is angry, I have no choice but to sacrifice myself to calm Tai Sui's rage. Big brother, let me do it. Second brother, let me do it. Tai Sui might see me young and be gentle. Nonsense. Tai Sui favors experience. Silence. None of you can stop me. This is an order from the sect leader, the leading middle-aged man said authoritatively. Saying this, he had already stripped off his clothes and walked in, behind the screen. Immediately, some red strings passed through his body, suspending him in the air. The red strings trembled, drawing the man toward the shadow, causing blissful voices to emanate from him. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Seeing this, the two men behind the screen showed envious looks. Really, he got to enjoy it again. After checking accounts and killing people, Duan Yun and Shining left. Of course, this was just an appetizer or planting a seed of heroism. Later, this place in Yu State would also become a heroic land. Under the heavens, there's nowhere that isn't heroic land, was not just an empty phrase. Young hero Duan would make it happen. It's just that, for now, his energy and the Jade Pearl hero's strength were not enough to manage a far-off enclave. Indeed, the future hero still needed time to grow. The spirit of heroism still needed to spread more fervently. After this battle, the spread should be effective, sparking the chivalry in many. Currently, their stronghold in Wangchun City needed proper consolidation. With time, it would surely become more heroic. Today he killed the young master of the Gu family, also comprehending the 10-layered spring rain, just what he wanted. Yet the trouble didn't end. The Thunder God and Mother were still lurking somewhere unknown. Since this Gu family's young master could help him break through the 10-layered spring rain, surely something like the Thunder God and Mother, capable of such trickery, could help him break through the 11th layer, right? Duan Yun looked at the sky and couldn't help but say, "Hope you can entertain me." At least today he had his fill of excitement. He hoped to continue this way. The news of young Master Gu Dil, being executed, and that Duan Yun brought suffering to all of Yishui City, reached Wangchun City before Duan Yun and the others did. This was because the two of them wandered, eating and drinking along the way, like enjoying sightseeing. After a victorious battle, even young heroes needed to enjoy themselves. For instance, now they were in that black bamboo forest, digging out the freshest bamboo shoots, preparing to stir-fry them with meat. Meanwhile, as the two were doing these things, the atmosphere inside and outside Wangchun City had already changed. Many Jianghu people followed young Master Gu Dil, but even more were heading towards Wangchun City. After all, they believed this was the battlefield for the final showdown. Just to witness the spectacle, even some wealthy people from the martial world could only sleep on the streets. The inn prices skyrocketed to such absurd levels, and yet you couldn't even book a room. Even if you had money, others had more money than you. If you were domineering, others were more domineering. The martial world is always like this, one mountain is higher than another. Moreover, this is Wangchun City. Elsewhere, you might kill someone to rob a room at an inn, as it has happened that a fight between two sects has broken out over a single room, but not here. Here, you can't kill and you can't even sleep in someone else's room or with someone else's wife. People from the martial world felt it was as boring as being eunuchs. With nowhere to sleep, they could only sleep on the street, and if they weren't careful, they wouldn't even find a good spot. These people from the martial world endured so much hardship, just to see this great battle. They were anxiously waiting, yet still full of hope. Who would have thought they would receive such terrible news instead? Old Demon Duan and Gu Dil started fighting in Ishui City, and in less than an hour, Gu Dil was humiliated to death. They didn't even get to see the excitement before he died. To the bloodthirsty audience, how is this any different from the sky collapsing? Damn it, was Gu Dil even capable? It's over so quickly. And also, Mr. Duan, could young hero Duan at least give a heads up before he makes a sudden move? Exactly. I pawned my wife just to take the fastest horse to grab a spot, and it ended like this? Can't the young master of the Gu family resurrect and fight again? The bloodthirsty audience felt like the sky had collapsed, but the supporters of young hero Duan were overjoyed. This group of supporters from the martial world people weren't numerous. Most were locals living in Wangchun City. With young hero Duan's victory, it meant their prosperous lives would continue steadily. For a moment, many families in the city were festively decorated. Someone even beat drums and gongs and invited a lion dance team to celebrate, making it more lively than the new year. But where there is happiness, there is naturally also sorrow. People who came from Wangchun City came from varied backgrounds. Some simply came to watch the excitement, some were supporters of Duan Yun, and some were supporters of the Gu family. The supporters of the Gu family wanted to see old Demon Duan being beaten to the ground on what was originally Gu's territory. Seeing the young master of the Gu family return as a king, reclaim Wangchun City, reclaim Mrs. Mingqi, reclaim all that belonged to him. This story alone is exciting just to think about. Throughout history, people have always preferred these stories of the king returning. But reality was too cruel. The young master of the Gu family was beaten to death by old Demon Duan halfway. Some couldn't help but suspect that old Demon Duan ambushed him, disregarding martial virtue and disregarding righteousness, which led to the collapse of the young master of the Gu family halfway. Even though the truth was told to them over and over again, they refused to believe it. The ones who held the most animosity naturally were the older generation from the time Mo sect ruled. Back when Mo sect ruled, they followed along in Wangchun City, their mouths greasy from feasting. Later, when it was taken over by the Jade Pearl heroes, they thought it would soon turn into a demon cave and sold off their assets cheaply, quickly wiping their feet clean to escape. They considered themselves wise. Little did they know Duan Yun and the others would thrive in Wangchun City, and the assets they had sold cheaply appreciated in value. Some returned out of unwillingness, but they couldn't return to the good old days, so they simmered in anger. So before this great battle occurred, this group fervently supported Gu Dil. They believed that if Gu Dil emerged victorious, Mo sect could regain control of Wangchun City, and everything they lost would be restored. Yet the reality of what happened completely shattered their dreams. Damn it! How did he just die? Even if you die, at least destroy Wangchun City once. The young master of the Gu family is dead, but there's plenty of disciples. Those with any guts should wash and destroy Wangchun City in blood. Kill, kill, kill. Kill them all. I can't stand them enjoying the good life that should have been ours. A bunch of people cursed profusely saying such things. After all, many of the cheaply sold assets were bought by willing acquaintances, friends, and brothers. Now, watching these acquaintances enjoying the good life that should have been theirs, they wished Wangchun City would explode on the spot. Unfortunately, nothing happened. Aside from being crowded and the sounds of celebration being too loud, no bloodbath event happened in Wangchun City. It was as if the thousands of disciples from the Gu family vanished. What a damn bunch of spineless cowards. If it were me, I would have retaliated long ago. Vengeful retaliation. At this time, the owner of the restaurant came out, his face beaming with oil, and said to everyone, "To celebrate young hero Duan's great victory, meals are half-priced for 3 days." In an instant, the sound of gongs and drums rose, and cheers erupted. Everyone was laughing and cheering. Only this group of people wasn't laughing. But when they noticed some people noticing this, they couldn't help but laugh. They laughed harder than they cried. Some laughed with tears streaming down their faces. They weren't truly laughing. The laughter was just their disguise. There's nothing more sorrowful than this. It's like your wife being slept with by someone, and then you're forced to help in the act, to assist the performance. What's the difference? Some of these people slinked away and some committed suicide. They committed suicide in front of the properties they sold cheaply, even saying, "Even in death, I won't forgive you," before dying, because they truly couldn't stand seeing others having a good life. When they had a good life, they occasionally showed sympathy and sympathized with their poor relatives, poor brothers, poor friends, but once others actually started living well, it was more painful than killing them. So they committed suicide. The harsh words they left behind before their suicide, in the end, only exchanged for a "serves you right." Throughout Wangchun City, rumors had long circulated that young hero Duan had ravished and killed the 1,000-year-old old demon in the lake. In this heroic land, even Jianghu guests who both ravage and kill dared not move, let alone fear some random ghost like you. Within Yuzhu Manor, celebrations were also underway. Duan Yun's victory also symbolized the victory of the Jade Pearl heroes. According to Brother Murong, they also collaborated with young hero Duan to defeat the Gu family. But Feng Linger and Little Yin were not particularly happy, because Duan Yun hadn't returned yet. Not only hasn't Duan Yun returned, but Shen Ying, who went out to find him, also hasn't returned. Women have such rich imaginations. In their minds, these two didn't know how many things they did in how many places together. The key point was that they weren't even watching. With her identity as the hostess in mind, Feng Linger looked pale and envious, even occasionally having illusions of Duan Yun and Shen Ying entangled together. This girl lay in the coffin for so long. How could she possibly win? Finally, after 1,000 prayers, Duan Yun and Shen Ying returned. As soon as Duan Yun arrived, Feng Linger grabbed him and said sternly, "I have something to discuss with you." Duan Yun asked puzzledly, "What's the matter?" "You've won. Even if the Gu family retaliates, they shouldn't be able to stir up much trouble. How would you deal with his woman?" Feng Linger asked. Duan Yun replied in confusion, "A prisoner of war will be dealt with accordingly. But she said it's all because of you that she became a widow, and she has an important secret to tell you," Feng Linger said sarcastically. "What secret?" Duan Yun suddenly became interested and asked, "Are you really interested in her?" Duan Yun retorted, "I'm interested in the secret." Saying that, he walked towards that familiar cellar. Inside the cellar, Lei Ying had somehow pulled her hair up, truly looking like a pitiable widow. Duan Yun said, "I heard you have a secret to tell me?" Lei Ying half kneeled on the ground in a submissive posture and said, "Of course." I said, "Whoever wins can own me, the #1 Mingqi in Tianzhou. I, Lei Ying, always keep my words." Feng Linger scoffed, "You as a prisoner of war have lost even the chance to be a hostage. Why still have such vain dreams? Who would want to have you as second-hand goods?" Lei Ying responded calmly, "You're not a Mingqi, so you wouldn't understand. Which man in the world isn't moved by Mingqi? Previously, that woman who came out of the coffin is also a Mingqi, no weaker than me. If this spreads, then it said young hero Duan desires to own all the world's Mingqi. Then, naturally, the whole world's Mingqi would return to his heart, and so would the martial world." Feng Linger was shocked. What kind of twisted reasoning is this? A Mingqi is not to be trifled with. When the 12 phases are aligned, it will transform into a dragon. Gathering all 12 magical artifacts, possessing them grants ease. Ruling the world. Have you never heard this? Lei Ying retorted. Duan Yun followed with his sarcastic remark, "You're not Dragon Balls. Would gathering them really have this effect? Stop talking nonsense. Your secret will determine your life or death." Listening to Duan Yun's words, Lei Ying couldn't help but retort, "How ruthless. That there exists in this world a man who looked so lightly upon herself as Mingqi. This was a grave humiliation to her. Yet, she didn't know why. The more humiliated she felt, the more excited she became. Then let me tell you this secret, and you'll understand how important it is to possess me, Lei Ying." Not only Duan Yun and Feng Linger, but even another captive, Aunt Shui with Leopard Prince, were staring at Lei Ying, wanting to see what secret she was about to reveal. Although Gu Dil was defeated, what do you think of his strength? Lei Ying suddenly asked. Duan Yun pondered and said, "For a while before his death, he was indeed quite fierce. Laying said, that was not only because he mastered the 10-break ancient strength of the Gu family, but also because the Gu family inherently possesses secrets rarely seen in the world. Have you ever heard of an emperor of all time, hidden within the divine tomb? Duan Yun was unaware of this, but Feng Linger was already surprised and said, could the secrets of the Gu family be related to that emperor? That emperor of all time is seldom mentioned in the martial world now, not because few remember him, but because he was once too powerful and terrifying, making even mentioning him feel like a taboo. Over time, no one mentioned him much anymore. But Feng Linger knew of this person. Or rather, any martial artists with some background in the martial world knew there was once such a person. An emperor of unparalleled strength, who brought the concept of fist as power to the extreme, a being that could never be defeated, surpassing martial legends. In the end, he was only defeated by time, not by any individual. Lei Ying then revealed the secret of the Gu family ancestor entering the divine tomb to Duan Yun. One can only say Gu Dil is truly a man of passion. This secret, known only to the rulers of the Gu family through the generations, he even told his treasured wife. The cultivation technique you encountered, absorbing the power of the 17 arhats, was indeed the technique of that emperor, and it's just a small part of it. Only this kind of technique in the world can be called ultimate. And the secret of this ultimate is hidden deep within a secret chamber in the old mansion of the Gu family. I am one of the few who can find it. If you act quickly, you might be able to obtain this secret. As she spoke, Lei Ying straightened her protruding chest to prove her worth. At this moment, the Murong brothers arrived, hearing the secret, and were shocked. Your husband disregarded the family rules and told you the greatest secret of the Gu family. And now that he's just been killed, you share his greatest secret with his murderer? Lei Ying earnestly replied, yes, I've said it before, I, Lei Ying, am only worthy of being owned by the strong. Whoever wins is the man for this treasured woman. Even my master. Sharing my master's greatest secret with his enemy and wholeheartedly serving my master is what I should do. Upon hearing this, even the often indifferent Murong brothers felt sorry for Gu Dil. The 7th day hadn't even passed, and his beloved wife had already become the slave of his enemy. No, she willingly became the slave of his enemy. If Gu Dil knew of this in the netherworld, wouldn't he be so angry he'd crawl out? Feng Linger ignored the trivialities and asked, do you mean that by going to that secret chamber in the Gu family, we can learn the secrets of the Emperor's divine tomb and the 10-break ancient strength cultivation technique? Lei Ying shook her head and said, I'm not sure about the real secrets of the divine tomb because I haven't been there. And if the Gu family realizes, they'll likely go all out to guard the secret, so we need to hurry. Duan Yun wasn't interested in the 10-break ancient strength. That was a cultivation technique that involved treating people as medicine, essentially a great medicine skills technique, impure, and it could easily lead to backlash, causing one's head to become pointed. Gu Dil died because of this impurity. But he was interested in the secrets of that emperor and his divine tomb. According to Lei Ying, the emperor had once publicly declared before his death, do you want my lifelong ultimate technique? Do you want to dominate the world? If you do, you can have it all. Go and find it. I buried everything there. After that, there was a surge throughout the world to find the emperor's divine tomb. Even farmers were thinking about treasure hunting. However, this nationwide tomb-searching frenzy soon died down. Firstly, because there were many capable people in the world, there were more than 100 prominent tomb raider sects alone, with the Fakyu, Banshan, and Shelling as the most prominent. Despite that, the divine tomb was never found, not even a clue, and secondly, there was a saying. Searching for the divine tomb will bring bad luck. Within a year or two, no clues about the divine tomb were found, but many experts mysteriously died unexpectedly. For instance, the leaders of Banshan and Shelling sects both died suddenly, and countless other martial world Jianghu people kept dying. At that time, people's hearts were restless. Even old grandpas and grandmas who hadn't practiced martial arts and couldn't walk steadily wanted to find the divine tomb. Yet the result was an eerie plague spreading across the world. Many just unknowingly died, with the cause of death mostly linked to searching for the divine tomb. People gradually realized that after the emperor's death, It was as if he cursed the world with a plague, a curse that caused those who sought his tomb to meet with misfortune and sudden death. This is why this sensational event quickly fizzled out, and even the emperor's name was rarely mentioned later on. Duan Yun only felt that this matter was truly bizarre and possibly offered the chance to gain extraordinary wisdom, so he became interested. As for how naturally talented and unparalleled the emperor was, Duan Yun didn't really dwell on it. No matter how talented, could he compete with my own extraordinary wisdom? Since he became interested in this secret young hero Duan, being someone who acts immediately, decided to set off at once. Yes, to outsiders, he had killed the young master of the Gu family, laid with the young master's wife, but he hadn't ransacked the Gu family yet. The possessions of the defeated should be mercilessly confiscated by the victor. Both publicly and privately, he should go to the Gu family and thoroughly confiscate. Seeing Duan Yun having just finished eating and now going to confiscate assets, the Jade Pearl heroes, who were very interested in this, all wanted to go along. But for the time being, they couldn't all leave Wangchun City. Although the backbone of the Gu family had died, the Gu family still had some foundation. It was uncertain whether they would lay low or seek some form of revenge afterwards. Shining happily said, "I'm not familiar with this place, so I probably can't help much, just nice that I can go." Feng Linger immediately stopped her and said, "Exactly because you're unfamiliar, you should take the time to get involved, and not fall behind. We have something here that needs this just-out-of-the-coffin expert to handle." That made it so Shining couldn't go either. Duan Yun said, "Then I'll go with her. Fewer people might be more efficient for this kind of thing." Looking at Lei Ying's coquettish demeanor, the #1 artifact of Tianzhou, both Feng Linger and Shining were not very assured. At this moment, Littleine volunteered and said, "Don't worry. If I go with them, there should be no problem." This suddenly enlightened Duan Yun. Duan Yun looked at Lei Ying and said, "I know what your real identity is now." All along, he had no clue about Lei Ying's identity at Jade Pearl Manor. After all, she had lost her value as a hostage. Surely, it couldn't be how she bragged about being fascinated by her status as the #1 artifact. He even considered whether it would be easier to just kill her. And now he had a new perception of her. "What identity?" "Mrs. Mingqi," Lei Ying eagerly asked. Duan Yun said, "You will be my second mount. When out and about, if I only had Littleine as a mount, others might think this young hero couldn't afford a second one." "A mount? And second?" Lei Ying said, bewildered. Duan Yun was quite satisfied with this. That meant when traveling outside, she had 2 supercars. Lei Ying said unconvincingly, "No matter what, I'm still the #1 artifact of Tianzhou, a fairy noble in the minds of others. How can I become a mount, and only the second one at that?" Littleine quickly interjected, "What's so great about being the #1 artifact? Aren't I the eldest daughter of the Jade Guanyin? Do I fall short when it comes to elegance?" Hearing this answer, even Lei Ying was taken aback, muttering, "You're the daughter of the Jade Guanyin?" Indeed, the #1 artifact of Tianzhou is an untouchable fairy in the eyes of mere mortals. But in terms of finesse and power, the Jade Guanyin is truly the best of the best. This is also the reason why, despite her charming all over the world, self-proclaiming to be the most beautiful, few people refuted her. In some sense, those heavenly prides that she captured later willingly become her living dead. Because few men in this world could resist the charm of the Jade Guanyin. She had mastered her sword technique in the old Gu residence, and didn't care much about outside matters, which is why she came to challenge Duan Yun earlier. She hadn't expected that even the daughter of Jade Guanyin had become Duan Yun's mount. So what about the Jade Guanyin herself? Afterwards, Duan Yun made both of them carry a saddle and head out. In fact, this way of riding wasn't much different than the carriers in Yishui City, but these were 2 extremely beautiful women. One is the daughter of the Jade Guanyin, the other is the #1 artifact of Tianzhou. That's the difference. The difference between a regular vehicle and a supercar. In the eyes of others, women who were regarded as fairies to be worshipped, when they offended the young hero, they could only serve as mounts, their status not even comparable to the pandas and gray donkeys of the Jade Pearl Manor. and it was uncertain when they could sit at the same table for a meal. Lei Ying initially refused to accept this role. As the young wife of the Gu family's heir, she was a noble existence admired by many. How could she become a mount? But gradually she actually accepted this identity. Because that sense of humiliation of being ridden by Duan Yun, although it made her feel ashamed, like a fairy fallen into the mortal world, it also secretly excited her. Did she originally like this contrast? The distance between Yun State and Tianzhou was vast. Even when Gu Dil left retreat with full speed, it took several days to reach Yu State. And Duan Yun and the group were not slow and could maintain the pace for a long duration. This was the advantage of taking two people along. Just like a car, you could take turns driving, so efficiency is not compromised. Along the way, Duan Yun caused much envy, jealousy, and hatred by letting the two beauties take turns carrying him. One lively and youthful with ponytails, the other with gracefully styled hair, exuding charm. No choice, the martial world is filled with cowards and men lacking backbone. If you say something about women, some cowardly men would vehemently jump out to condemn you, claiming you disrespect women, don't understand love, and aren't fit to be a human. Women should be cherished by men, has always been their golden saying. While Duan Yun allowing these heavenly women to carry him, treating them as mounts, was considered by these people as an offense against heaven, an act of great disrespect, and deserving of punishment by thunder, deserving of heartbreaking anguish. And Duan Yun indeed lacked a sense of love. All he knew was to speed up relentlessly. Now with Lei Ying and Little Ying taking turns, there was no need to worry about fatigue, and with Lei Ying knowing the way, all that was needed was to occasionally pull their hair to speed up. Upon entering Qingzhou territory, the criticisms surrounding Duan Yun grew, and some even guessed his identity, because many recognized Lei Ying. Qingzhou was adjacent to Tianzhou. Lei Ying, before becoming the young wife of the Gu family, had spent quite some time in these states, becoming an everlasting dream for many men. Even after she married into the Gu family, she remained their constant reverie. The recent upheaval in the Gu family also made them worry about Lei Ying's fate, and many even turned into spies to find her whereabouts. But now, as she reappeared in Qingzhou, this untouchable figure in their minds was serving that man like cattle and horses. Old demon Duan. If thoughts could kill, Duan Yun would have been dead 1,000 times over. One day, the road ahead of Duan Yun was blocked by more than 20 people. These people were wearing green scarves, kneeling there with resolute eyes. The leading man shouted, "Miss Lei is Tianzhou's #1 beauty, Tianzhou's #1 artifact. In our eyes in Qingzhou also the #1 beauty, unrivaled in grace. We will not allow you to treat her like this." Sitting on Lei Ying, Duan Yun asked in confusion, "Oh, what do you intend to do then?" The lead man cried out, "We will kneel here and not get up." Hearing this response, Duan Yun almost laughed and said, "Then you'd better kneel a while longer." With that, he tugged Lei Ying's hair to signal her to leave. This scene shattered the hearts of those 20-odd green scarf people. Seeing Duan Yun about to leave like this, and Lei Ying still unable to escape this fate, these cowards couldn't help but cry out in heartache, "If you don't let Miss Lei go, we will commit suicide. You call yourself a hero everywhere, yet force people to commit suicide. Let's see how the Jianghu people will judge you." Duan Yun's eyes lit up, and he said, "You say you're going to commit suicide? There's such a good thing? Then hurry up. If you don't do it soon, I'll ride away on her." In Duan Yun's view, rooting out such cowardly men could actually be beneficial to the martial world. The lead coward, watching Lei Ying being humiliated, couldn't stand it anymore, drew his knife, and shouted, "Duan Yun, if you don't let go of Miss Lei, I will kill myself." Duan Yun remained unmoved. That coward finally couldn't stand it, raised the knife, and stabbed himself in the stomach fiercely. The other cowards followed suit, stabbing themselves, blood spurting everywhere. At this point, they realized they didn't want to let themselves be tormented by such a fate, so they were shouting, "If you don't let Miss Lei go, you will be struck down. We will not let you go, even as ghosts. I'm afraid even refining you would dirty my hands. Let's go." After Duan Yun spoke, Lei Ying obediently carried him away without looking back at them. The only thing she cared about now was possessing Duan Yun. She would give everything for him to be even better. The ancient Gu family estate, with its imposing cypress trees. If this cypress-lined path once symbolized the Gu family's dignity and solemnity, it now feels more like a synonym for eerie desolation. Young Master Gu Dil of the Gu family was killed by old demon Duan, which is akin to the heart of the Gu family being ripped out, their world collapsing. It's worth noting that although Gu Dil was called Young Master, he had already wielded the power of the family head for years. At this moment, some hoped that the old master or other young masters and ladies of the Gu family would step forward, but those in the know realized this was wishful thinking. Because young Master Gu Dil ascended to this position by stepping over the heads of his beloved siblings. Even his father was trampled underfoot by him. Gu Dil became famous in those years for not eating beef, and even though his father and siblings were spared their lives, they were practically ruined. Reviving the glory of the Gu family at this time is easier said than done. But the old men of the Gu family were already rushing here, knowing full well that there was a great secret hidden within. Unfortunately, they couldn't become family head. The young ones died, the old ones couldn't find their way, and they had no clue about the secret. The ancient Gu estate holds considerable danger, and even the family's senior members would find it extremely perilous to enter. What's more, an even more dangerous message has arrived. That is, old demon Duan is riding young master's wife towards Tianzhou. No need to think, he was undoubtedly headed for the Gu family. Consequently, the old men from the Gu family, who were originally here to covet the secret, grabbed some valuables and fled. To live long in the Gu family, one must be an expert at running away. Thus, when Duan Yun, Lei Ying, and Little Ying arrived at the Gu family estate, they found there were less than 2 people around. Initially, Duan Yun was quite enraged, thinking the place had been emptied, as he came to raid the Gu family, only to find it already stripped bare, leaving nothing to raid. However, as Lei Ying led the way, Duan Yun's mood suddenly brightened. It was an entire cavern filled with gold, silver, and jewels. Calling it a gold mountain and silver mountain wasn't an exaggeration. Although young hero Duan had been out in the martial world for nearly 3 years, vanquishing countless demons, he had never seen so much wealth. All one could say is Gu Dil was truly kind, or perhaps it was his wife. Even in death, they knew to contribute so many hidden treasures to the young hero. During this process, Duan Yun discovered that the Gu family was truly adept at hiding things. Without Lei Ying's guidance, this enormous gold mountain and silver mountain would be impossible to find, because she actively led Duan Yun to the treasury, and her demeanor showed quite an affection for gold and silver. Lei Ying couldn't help but feel her status had risen, surpassing that of Little Ying. Little Ying, displeased with her arrogant demeanor, asked Duan Yun, "Do you like gold and silver very much?" Duan Yun nodded and said, "To act chivalrously, many times one must be generous with finances. Wealth should not be lacking." In the past, donating even 1,000 taels of silver caused him great pain, which took days to overcome, during which he had to eliminate entire families of evil demons to soothe his distress. But now, just moving this vast amount of gold and silver would ensure donating would no longer be so painful. At this moment, Little Ying said, "Actually, underneath Yellow Jade Island, there's also a lot of this sort of stuff. We can find a time to go retrieve it." Duan Yun was surprised. "So, it seems your family's all like hiding Gold Mountain and Silver Mountain at home, don't you?" Unlike him, who only managed to patch up enough for a small cellar. At this time, even Lei Ying, with her substantial assets, was thunderstruck, saying, "Isn't he the enemy who killed your mother?" On this journey, Lei Ying also understood some of the conflicts and entanglements between Little Ying and Duan Yun. Little Ying retorted, "As if your husband wasn't killed by him, has the mourning period passed?" Lei Ying responded, "That's different. He died proving he was unworthy of possessing me, while someone else is more deserving." Saying this, she looked at Duan Yun. Little Ying looked disdainful, saying, "Lo, you're even lower than those women." The two argued for a while, but ultimately stopped, as they were about to head to the Gu family's secret cavern. According to Lei Ying's description, it was the core secret of the Gu family. Even she hadn't been to its deepest parts. Because Gu Dil had once said that non-family head members entering would face uncontrollable dangers. Lei Ying speculated whether there would be some mysterious figure sitting inside the Gu family, as many martial world families' treasuries had similar individuals guarding them. These people were generally old monsters of sect lineages, with unclear levels of power. But Lei Ying also felt it was unlikely, as from her understanding of Gu Dil, he probably wouldn't allow someone so powerful to exist within the Gu family. Humans are naturally possessed with genes for adventure and thrill-seeking, making the exploration of a mysterious and dangerous cavern inherently exciting. The entrance to the Gu family's labyrinth was, in fact, below this treasury, underneath this gold-cast large tree. If one were lucky enough to come here, they might have already been dazzled by the countless treasures in the entire room, failing to notice the very discreet entrance 3 feet underground beneath this tree. Duan Yun and the 2 others followed this entrance inside. This entrance was very narrow. Even Lei Ying had to take deep breaths to adjust her size to barely fit through, or she might get stuck. After entering the cave, it remained narrow, and after hundreds of steps forward, it seemed there was no path ahead. But when Lei Ying groped around a stone nearby, there was a clang, and the stone shifted back, revealing another exit. The 3 emerged from there, and the scenery before them opened up dramatically. These 2 entrances didn't have many elaborate mechanisms, yet they were easy to confuse people. Without Lei Ying leading the way, the entrances were indeed extremely easy to overlook. I can only say that the Gu family hid this place very well, even deeper than Lei Ying's trench. Before us is a cavern that looks quite vast, with pavilions built inside, resembling an underground palace. The ceiling, about 10 zhang high, is dotted with fireflies. These fireflies are unusually large, and the light they emit is not green but a ghostly blue, illuminating the dim surroundings. I must say, this ghostly blue glow combined with the ancient-style architecture and the misty surroundings gives the illusion of stumbling into a ghostly land. Especially those stone towers at the end of the corridor, they have an eerie feeling, because the corners of the house in front protrude like 2 cat ears, making these stone towers look as if they have come to life. Lei Ying explained, the layout of these stone towers is very similar to the Gu family's ancestral hall. It was Lei Ying's first time seeing such ear-like architecture, and she found it strange. Little Een couldn't help but mumble, "Is this the Gu family's ancestral shrine?" Lei Ying shook her head. The ancestral shrine has always been above ground. Does the Gu family have an ancestral shrine above ground and another underground? Little Een pondered. To be honest, her offhand remark did have an underworld feel to it, which you could extend to the entire Gu family. For example, if the Gu family has 2 branches, one above ground and one underground, the people above ground are living, and the people underground are ghosts. At this moment, the corridor had reached its end. Lei Ying pointed at a stone building and said, "I got as far as here. That room." It was a 2-story stone building, elongated in shape with cat ear-like ornaments on the roof, and the doorway looked like a mouth. In front of the stone house was a small pond, its water a deep green, with no way to tell its depth. Here, you could see a wooden plaque hanging above the door, inscribed with the characters, "Eternal Glory." Duan Yun headed straight inside. The layout of this stone house is rather peculiar, I must say. From the outside, it looks quite solemn, very consistent with Lei Ying's description of an ancestral hall, yet it has 2 stories with 7 rooms on each floor, resembling an inn. Upon entering the main door, there is an upward staircase right in the center of the house, looking quite abrupt. The 3 of them climbed the stairs and reached the 2nd floor. The rooms inside were pitch black. Duan Yun activated the room pupil technique to look inside, and the dark rooms became slightly brighter in his vision. Inside, it was empty, not like someone was living there, but each room had some red and white candles, as if for worship. Duan Yun withdrew his gaze from the room, and his prying clouds and seeing the sun, staid eyes suddenly fell on little Een, prompting an ah of amazement. Though little Een was young, she was actually very mature. The next moment, Duan Yun had to again because Lei Ying, so close by, was even bigger. Seeing this, Little Ying couldn't help but ask, "Did you find something?" Duan Yun shook his head. "No. If not, why did you Little Ying questioned. "It's because there's nothing to about. Don't you feel that outside there's Gold Mountain and Silver Mountain? But it's too empty here." Saying so, Duan Yun continued to walk forward. It was at this point that he realized there was more to the second floor of the stone building. There was a back door in the middle room of the second floor, leading to a rope bridge. The rope bridge connected to the other side, but due to the mist, the specifics of the opposite side couldn't be seen. Indeed, even with Duan Yun's prying clouds and seeing the sun, the misty scene was still unclear. Duan Yun didn't hesitate much and walked straight into the depths of the mist along the rope bridge. Little Ying and Lei Ying followed behind. Little Ying stayed very close to Duan Yun because she worried the mist might be strange, making them lose sight of each other as they walked, which would be terrifying. The rope bridge was very long, giving the illusion of never reaching the end while walking through the mist. However, after the time of a burning incense stick, the rope bridge finally reached its end. They seemed to have crossed a canyon-like space and arrived on the other side. Here, one side was a stone wall, and the other a cliff, still lined with those ear-like stone houses. Only here, the stone houses appeared older and more dilapidated. Some even collapsed, with moss growing on the rooftops, resembling long-abandoned, fuzzy corpses. The cliffside was bottomless, and the darkness even more intense. Upon reaching here, one could even hear some noises. Little Ying, slightly tense, said, "What sound is that?" "The wind. What are you so nervous about?" Lei Ying said, "Why does this wind sound like someone talking?" Little Ying glanced around. The truth was, the wind did somewhat resemble someone's voice. Lei Ying, with a look of disdain, said, "Wind passing through some cracks can make similar sounds. Really a lack of experience. Just scaring yourself." With that, Lei Ying strode past Little Ying. Then suddenly a white shadow shot swiftly from below. The white figure was enormous, alarmingly fast, appearing extremely abruptly. Even Duan Yun didn't react immediately. So he and Little Ying heard a bang, and Lei Ying was hit by the white figure, the entire body smashing into the mountain wall with a boom. Seeing this, Little Ying screeched strangely and sprang to Duan Yun's side. She had sharp eyes and had already seen that it was a white snake. No, an exaggeratingly large white snake, almost dragon-like in size. The white snake had scarlet eyes, like a pool of blood, which was intimidating. After knocking Lei Ying away, it twisted its head and looked toward Duan Yun and Little Ying. Without any pause, the snake's head swung, charging towards Duan Yun and Little Ying. Its momentum forward was fierce, its speed extremely quick. Yet in Duan Yun and Little Ying's eyes, there was an oddity. Because usually such an impact should be thunderous like a rumbling dump truck with a very fierce momentum. However, when this giant snake head came crashing, there was no sound, giving an eerie feeling. It was precisely because there was no sound that Lei Ying didn't react before being knocked away. As she saw the terrifying snakehead approach rapidly, Little Yin's twin ponytails almost stood upright as she couldn't help but shout, "Duan Yun, save me!" Yes, she had always disliked things like snakes and toads, and when such things became larger, they turned into fear. This fear actually made her so flustered and slow to respond at that moment. "Hurt not my steed!" Almost simultaneously, a massive breaking body sword chi column burst forth, just in time to intercept the snakehead before it hit Little Ying. The only thing that could be said about the giant snake's speed was that even the instinctively unleashed breaking body sword chi column almost couldn't keep up with the rhythm, reducing Duan Yun from the intended, "hurt not my mount," to "hurt not my steed." With a bang, the serpent's skin was not only tough and smooth but also had a strange rhythm. So much so that 7/10 of the breaking body sword chi column's force was neutralized. But after all, it was the young hero's breaking body sword chi column, and even with only 3 parts of its force, it was still incredibly sharp. The forward thrust of the snakehead slowed significantly, giving Little Ying time to accelerate, and the snakehead was also pierced, releasing foul-smelling blood. At this point, Duan Yun noticed that the snake wore a red cap. No, to be precise, atop the monstrous truck-sized snakehead, there was a building resembling a temple. The little temple was blood-red, looking just like a red cap. The white snake, hurt and bleeding, shook its head and withdrew into the abyss by the cliffside. Duan Yun activated Sword Chi, only to see the snake, now in pain and having lashed its head back, disappear into the churning mist. One could only say that this white snake was peculiar, not only enormous but possessing a mysterious, silent movement technique, much like a 500-pound sow with the swiftness and stealth, which was rather sinister. With the serpent driven back, little Een did not dare to relax, her nostrils slightly flaring as she said, "It's still around!" Duan Yun exclaimed, drawing his gold sword, "I'm here if it flees!" Now they finally understood what Lei Ying meant by unknown danger. It wasn't some hidden expert in the Gu family, but this snake instead. However, what Gu Dil couldn't handle, this young hero will. But as for Lei Ying, she might just be dead. The hole where she was thrown into the rock face remained silent and still as a grave. By now, little Een was nervously saying, "It's coming again!" Faced with this strange white snake, Duan Yun was undoubtedly enraged. After all, both little Een and Lei Ying were now considered his steeds. And this beast dared to touch his steeds? Especially Lei Ying, who was now smashed into the stone wall. Whether she was seriously injured or not was uncertain. There was no sign of movement. Pondering the benefits of having Lei Ying, Duan Yun had understood her worth when venturing out. As the top artifact in Tianzhou, she was highly revered in Qingzhou and 2 other states, and along the way, she had caused nearly 100 suitors to sacrifice themselves for her, earning the title of coward's suicide idol. Moreover, possessing Lei Ying enhanced his young hero demeanor when abroad. Previously, he had crossed several states riding little Een, setting a trend. However, the ensuing followers riding wives, being ridden by wives riding senior sisters or mothers, or being ridden by them, diminished his uniqueness. But now, with Lei Ying, the top artifact of Tianzhou, his young hero status was reclaimed. Yet this creature dared to touch his steed. "Even if you could transform into Bainyangzi, kneeling beneath me to plead, I would still kill your entire family. Moreover, you cannot transform." At that moment, Duan Yun's intent to kill was intense. Huangshan Golden Sword and Demon Sword Gentle had both silently unsheathed. Little Een was grave, her muscles fully tense. Being naturally sensitive, confronting the giant snake she already feared amplified her tension. She could distinctly sense the bloodthirsty aura closing in, indicating the white snake Duan Yun had previously wounded was approaching. But she couldn't see it. With the surroundings dark and foggy, and the snake possessing a bizarre silent movement skill, locating it was difficult. By now, Duan Yun had reached the cliff's edge, initiating the room pupil technique, dispersing the mist. His eyes glowed blue as the mist beneath the cliff faded in his view. This was a true sight of uncensored clarity. Yet the snake wasn't below. The white snake from before was incredibly large, comparable to the azure dragon from the graveyard, so if it was nearby, as Little Een suggested, it should have been visible. Could it be above? Duan Yun's eyes brightened further, looking upward. To Little Een, he appeared mournfully gazing skyward. Nothing was above either. Where could it be? Duan Yun frowned. In that instant of frowning, the stone wall behind him suddenly fractured, revealing a massive snakehead. The snakehead was as large as a speeding truck, quick and fierce. "Damn you, sneak!" The word, attack, wasn't out of Duan Yun's mouth before he was struck by the enormous snakehead. In Little Yin's terrified eyes, Duan Yun was knocked off the cliff, fluttering like a kite with a broken string. The white snake's appearance was so sudden and unexpected. It was a long-planned ambush. Duan Yun had considered below the cliff and even above, but hadn't anticipated the snake emerging from the seemingly solid stone wall behind him. This area must have numerous hollow snake paths, enabling the massive white snake to move stealthily. Chubby assassins like playful nimble killers, a fitting description of this creature. When Duan Yun was knocked off the cliff, Little Yin's first instinct, amidst her terror, was, "It's over, old demon Duan will be smashed to death." Considering the bottomless cliff and how severely Duan Yun was struck, he might not even leave bone fragments. But as soon as this thought emerged, she saw Duan Yun stepping with his left foot on his right foot, flying up again. Seeing Duan Yun, Little Yin's intellect finally returned to its peak, and she commented with a pained expression, "Right, old demon Duan couldn't possibly die so easily. Even immortals might die from falling, but not him." At the same time, the white snake was also dumbfounded. It surely hadn't anticipated someone surviving such an impact, let alone flying back up from the cliff's depths. As it realized this, it instinctively recoiled, attempting to retreat into the stone wall. Having sensed the newcomer's uniqueness, the snake had second thoughts. But Duan Yun wouldn't grant it the chance. Trying to run? With a swift 1,000 fall maneuver, Duan Yun's left foot stepped on his right foot in midair, spinning to create a whirlwind lightning chop. With a crack, under Little Yin's gaze, his right leg, like a battle axe, smashed fiercely onto the white snake's head. His kick cracked open the resilient serpent scales. The snake, struck by fear again, desperately attempted to retract its head, but Duan Yun's leg was lodged there, along with an additional stab planted adjacent, embedding him into the snake like a nail. In this state, the snake found it difficult to shake him off. The white snake, evidently intelligent, upon realizing it couldn't easily rid of Duan Yun, continued to retreat without hesitation. As its head withdrew, it began frantically battering upward, hoping to crush Duan Yun to death with sheer force. The stone wall and the cliff trembled violently, dislodging countless rocks and shattering the stone house beside it. Little Yin, standing there, struggled to maintain her stance amid the quakes, highlighting the impact's force, soon followed by louder and more intense crashing noises. From here, Little Yin couldn't see what was happening within the snake paths of the mountain wall, but she could infer some events. The white snake's eyes. Its eyes were red, wildly thrashing, resembling two swinging red blur lanterns. In a short period, Duan Yun had probably been thrown against the stone wall nearly 100 times. The white snake probably couldn't believe it could slam so fast because it was in so much pain. Within the gentle demon blade, the 10-layered spring rain blade intent, representing suffering, drilled out like silk and pierced into its head. The white snake felt it was going insane from the pain, exploding with agony. Or rather, because of the immense pain, it could no longer control itself and actively shattered a lot of its own blood and flesh from exhaustion. The giant snake frantically drilled through the snake path, a turning point. The blade in Duan Yun's hand emitted countless red line blade chi, driving into the white snake's skull, giving it a massage called extreme pain, while his whole body emitted pitch-black sword chi as if swords were growing all over him, used to withstand the terrifying impact. With a mournful cry, the giant snake let out a terrible wail, followed by the intense sound of water spraying. The water spouted stirred the mist below the cliff. Little Yin turned pale, unable to help but exclaim, "Why would you provoke old demon Duan?" The mighty white snake had pain flowing like a waterfall. Suddenly, Duan Yun leaped up from the snake's head with incredible speed. He had sharply heard a fierce, piercing sound. Immediately afterward, dozens of dark rays swiftly passed beneath his feet. Were those rocks? These stones passed by like meteors, some crashing into the top of the mountain cave, others into the cliff wall, causing continuous sonic booms like a violent earthquake, shaking the entire cave. All these stones were made by the white snake. Focusing, Duan Yun noticed the giant snake tail stirring below. The white snake even had the skill of hurling rocks with its tail. Even with the power of these stones, if hit, he'd probably lose a layer of skin or suffer bleeding injuries. Seems you still don't know what true pain is. Duan Yun waved his hand, and the red line on the blade became more concentrated, stabbing into the snake's head and body like raindrops. One must admit, the white snake's vitality was astonishing. With Duan Yun's intensity, even if there were hundreds or thousands of people, each sharing a single 10-layered spring rain sword. Chi would be driven to a painful death, losing all mobility. Yet, this white snake bore all of it and could still move. But after this, it could no longer throw stones with its tail. It discharged fluid wildly all over, practically dehydrating, and its mouth gushed continuous streams of blood like a river. In little Yin's eyes, this dragon-sized white snake was utterly incontinent. With a pull from the substantive red-line blade Chi on the blade edge, Duan Yun landed once more on the white snake's head, pressing so hard that the snake's eyeballs nearly popped out. In the next moment, as he drew his blade, the red-line blade Chi on the blade issued a shrill cry, rushing upwards. In an instant, like thousands of birds singing in unison, red rain fell, and the snake's head was entirely sliced apart. Having lost the resilience to diffuse forces through the pain, the white snake could now only helplessly endure the slaughter. The giant snake had gone. Whether its departure was peaceful was unknown, since its head was now in pieces, detached from the body. Without a snake head, the white snake's body fell, crashing onto the cliff with a rumbling sound. At this moment, little Yin felt a chill down her spine. Though the earlier shivers were due to the sudden appearance of this dragon-sized white snake, now they were because of Duan Yun. Because, in her eyes, such a colossus was hopeless after just one encounter with Duan Yun. After a single critical strike, there was no path to survival, stuck to death directly. If someone were entangled by old demon Duan, how many have such life force as this giant snake? As the white snake's head was slashed by blade Chi, the red cap on its top also dropped down. This temple, seemingly grown from the white snake's skull, now stuck in the snake's flesh, looked quite sinister. Duan Yun walked over, discovering the small temple was remarkably resilient. Even under such collisions just now, it showed barely any damage, with only a small piece missing from its bright red door. With a creak, Duan Yun pushed open the temple door, and the scene inside immediately revealed itself. This temple wasn't large, merely a small shrine, visible at a glance. And at the end of the temple he saw a person. A woman. A beautiful woman sat motionless on the altar like a deity. Was this temple dedicated to a woman? Duan Yun entered, realizing it was a corpse. A vividly beautiful corpse. Surrounded by fair maidens was Duan Yun, with even mounts like Little Yin and Lei Ying being treated as fairies. Not to mention Shining, whose pure and alluring form naturally appealed to his preferences. Ordinarily, he had quite a high threshold for beauty. Yet, at this moment he still marveled at the corpse's beauty. Who knows how long this woman had been dead? Yet her eyebrows and eyes remained lifelike, giving an illusion of merely sleeping, ready to awaken the next second. Based on his experience in gynecology, this woman was indeed dead. Still not assured, he used his seeing, smelling, and cutting technique, confirming she was indeed dead. Little Yin stood nervously outside, anxiously questioning, "Why is there a woman here? Who knows?" By then, Duan Yun had already dragged the female corpse from the altar, saying, "She was placed here, perhaps for a reason." The chains under her skirt bound her waist and thighs, keeping her from being thrown out during earlier tremors. Duan Yun swung his blade, cutting the chains, finally taking hold of the female corpse. Seeing this fair corpse, Little Yin instinctively stepped back, fearing Duan Yun might toss it to her. She quickly said, "Shouldn't we check on how Lei Ying is doing?" Duan Yun realized and said, "Right, we should check. Hopefully not dead." She was a new one. Little Yin quickly crawled into the hole Lei Ying had made. Inside, Little Yin's voice came. "She seems to have fainted." "No, wait. She seems dead. No need to worry," Little Yin said as she crawled out, resulting in a cold voice from behind. "You're the one dead. Hurry, help me out of here." A popping sound was heard, and Lei Ying was likely pulled out. Moments later, the two women came crawling out. After Lei Ying landed, her legs went limp, and she collapsed on the ground. She looked disheveled at Duan Yun and said, "I'm dizzy and weak. Probably can't walk." At a glance, Duan Yun could see that her originally alabaster back was now blood red. clearly from the earlier collision. Duan Yun extended a finger, prodding her soul. Ah! Lei Ying let out a gasp, her toes curling up. She straightened up suddenly, as if electricity flashed through her eyes, and instantly she became spirited. I'm not dizzy anymore. On the contrary, I even feel a bit refreshed. Lei Ying mumbled, standing up. She looked at Duan Yun, puzzled. Didn't expect you to be a divine doctor. Just now, Duan Yun used demon electric finger force to unblock her veins and blood vessels blocked from the impact, explaining why she suddenly felt refreshed. The female corpse in the snake's head temple also left Lei Ying in perplexity. Duan Yun placed the corpse down, saying, "Take her and keep moving." Little Een and Lei Ying exchanged a glance, instinctively backing away. This woman worshipped in the temple was indeed eerie. Nobody wanted to carry her. Lei Ying couldn't help but say, "What are you waiting for? Hurry and carry it." Little Een retorted, "If you're not carrying it, why should I? Mind your position." With that, Little Een took the lead, following Duan Yun, ignoring the corpse entirely. Lei Ying looked at the female corpse, complaining, "I'm hurt, though." Little Een completely ignored her. So Lei Ying could only carry the corpse, cursing, "That wretched girl." As they moved, the sound of slapping echoed off the entire cliff, unsettling to the spirit. The three couldn't help but glance towards the sound, finding it was the white snake's body slapping against the cliff. It's just that the life force of a snake is astonishingly strong. Without a head, it's dead, yet the body still maintained the biological instinct to move, creating such a scene. Duan Yun couldn't help but remark watching this. Just like a giant spicy strip, the corpse of the headless giant snake continued to slap against the cliff wall, producing strange sounds. Duan Yun, however, was no longer concerned. If it had been during his poorest days, he might have considered collecting the snake meat and bones to see if they could fetch any money. But now, with that room full of Gold Mountain and Silver Mountain still needing to be moved, there's no time for that. Besides, the snake is so eerie. Its meat might drive people insane like the green dragon meat if it gets out. It's better to let it rot here. The injured Lei Ying was still beautiful, carrying a beautiful corpse on her back. She could only comfort herself by saying she was doubly beautiful. Her delicate skin remained in goosebumps, owing to her suspicion that there might be something wrong with the beautiful corpse. The female corpse worshipped in the snake head temple was still in the hidden chamber of the Gu family. But she could only grit her teeth and continue, as she was the tributor's daughter, exclusively belonging to Duan Yun. This is the realization of a tributor's daughter. At this moment, the path along the cliff edge had come to an end. In its place was a grand bronze door. This bronze door extended from the bottom to the top of the entire cave, at least dozens of stories high, looking enormously immense. A door like this standing underground makes one feel particularly small. Such a door existed beneath the old house of the Gu family. It's hard to imagine what's behind such a door. The center of the massive bronze door had a keyhole, and due to the size of the door, the keyhole resembled a cavern. Duan Yun planned to forcibly open this bronze door. The door looked heavy, but he had plenty of strength. The key was that if he could open even a crack, it might be enough to pass through. So he circulated his true qi, placing his palms on the left and right of the bronze door. To Little Een and Lei Ying, this was almost like shaking a tree like a tiny ant. But at this moment, the bronze door actually moved, bringing forth a rumbling sound. This is the wonder of martial arts, enabling one to accomplish what should only be imagined. Yet just then, there was a faint firelight streaming through the narrow crack of the door. Lei Ying reacted, saying, "Wait! Don't!" Duan Yun released his grip, and the entire bronze door closed again. Lei Ying explained, "There is a mechanism on this door. If forcibly opened, it might self-destruct along with whatever is inside." Duan Yun couldn't help but frown. It could only be said that the Gu family was truly evil, creating such insidious mechanisms to block his entry, which was indeed a heinous crime. At this moment, Lei Ying was already climbing toward the direction of the keyhole with the corpse on her back. Her movement technique was agile, her posture elegant, like a fairy floating gracefully. In no time, she reached the position of the keyhole, and instinctively let out an S sound, saying, "Duan, come and see." Little Een retorted, "Is Duan someone you can casually call like that?" Duan Yun also wanted to retort, but considering the other might have discovered something, he decided to simply note her overstepping behavior, planning to reprimand her properly later. Duan Yun and Little Een climbed up quickly, arriving at the keyhole. It could only be said that this door was truly enormous. Even a keyhole could accommodate the three of them and a corpse. "What did you find?" Duan Yun asked. Lei Ying turned back out of the keyhole, pointing at it, saying, "What do you think this keyhole looks like?" Duan Yun and Little Een climbed out as well, sticking to the bronze door as they observed. Duan Yun was a bit perplexed, but at this moment Little Een surprisingly reacted, saying, "So that's what it is?" Duan Yun asked in confusion, "You figured it out?" Little Een nodded. Duan Yun was somewhat puzzled. It was just an ordinary hole, and with his extraordinary wisdom there was no reason Little Een should see through it when he didn't. But Duan Yun didn't dwell on it, asking, "What exactly is it?" Little Een said, "It's that." As she spoke, her gaze couldn't help but wander downwards. Her legs tightened in response. With such behavior, Duan Yun suddenly understood, saying, "So it's that. But even if it resembles that, is there a use?" At this moment, Lei Ying pointed inside the keyhole, saying, "Look deeper inside." Duan Yun and Little Een looked inside, discovering a protrusion at the very end of the keyhole. This time, Duan Yun's extraordinary wisdom instantly grasped it, saying, "So the key has always been here. What we need to find is the keyhole." Little Een retorted, "But this keyhole is quite perverted. Are all the Gu family members so twisted?" She quickly remarked, "The key and lock are paired, and mismatching them might explode. Where do we find the matching lock now?" Before her voice had faded, Duan Yun's extraordinary wisdom outpaced hers, and together with Lei Ying, shifted their gaze to the beautiful corpse. Could this beautiful corpse worshipped in the Snake Head Temple be due to this reason? Duan Yun acted swiftly, grabbing the beautiful corpse and thrusting it forward. His dual masters of sword and saber, and his honed skills, were exceedingly powerful and exceptionally stable and precise. With a smack, a part of the corpse, which already seemed like a crystalline body, pierced into the key. Next was a rumbling noise, and just like that, the colossal bronze door swung open. The lock was indeed correctly matched. The world beyond the bronze door was dim yet not entirely dark. Silvery, faint lines of light drifted in the air, possessing a kind of decaying beauty. How to describe this feeling? It's as if the light had died here. These faint lines of light were like the corpses of light, floating slenderly. Beyond the bronze door was a passage filled with these remnants of light. The stone walls of the passage were inscribed with chaotic writing. "Ha ha ha! Mr. Gu, I've succeeded. Grandfather, you are no longer a match for me. I will lead the Gu family to restore its glory. Run! The bronze coffin is coming to kill us. 17 dragon power is the strongest. Father's father is called grandfather. Grandfather's grandfather is called grandmother." These words clearly weren't from the same person. It was apparent they were all in a state of madness. One could imagine that this was likely the state of previous family heads of the Gu family when they were comprehending the cultivation technique here. For a moment, these words seemed alive, exuding an eerie madness. This madness seemed to want to crawl out of the wall. If it weren't for the fact that Duan Yun and the others were masters with strong wills, they might have been influenced to become frenzied. For example, Lei Ying, who hadn't been with Duan Yun for long, had a slightly weaker resolve. His right foot was shaking involuntarily, feeling the urge to dance. It goes to show that when a martial artist reaches a certain strength, even the words they write can affect people's spirits. Like a formidable swordsman, casually striking a mountain rock can leave a terrifyingly strong sword intent, attracting many swordsmen to observe and comprehend. What exactly was the cultivation technique left here that drove generations of Gu family heads to such madness? The answer should be ahead. This dimly lit passage had reached its end, and ahead was a room not too big or too small. Honestly, after experiencing that gigantic bronze door, seeing a room like this, Duan Yun and the others felt a sense of disappointment. Indeed, that bronze door gave an illusion of a divine phenomenon, leading them to think the subsequent design would be just as remarkable. Yet at the end it was just an ordinary stone chamber like this. The walls of the stone chamber were covered in words. In contrast to the frenzied and twisted words outside, the text here was organized and calm. Only a door separated the calm writings from the frenzied ones, as if they belonged to two entirely different worlds. It's as if someone extremely frenzied outside would immediately become calm upon reaching here. Duan Yun and the others also calmed down, because the words on the wall easily drew people in. These words were likely left by the Gu family head who entered the divine tomb, as they documented his experiences entering the tomb. According to this Gu family head, at that time he, like everyone else, was eager to find the tomb of that emperor and learn his unmatched martial arts. As a member of the Gu family, he possessed the skill of dragon seeking and positioning, allowing him to decipher clues before other Jianghu people. Since ancient times, emperors possessed dragon energy, and mountains and rivers had dragon veins. Dragon veins and dragon energy complemented each other, and that emperor, known as the Emperor of all time, naturally had astonishing dragon energy. This remained true even after death. The Gu family head relied on this point to find a place called Three Treasures Valley in Qingzhou. He sought the dragon and positioned the veins there, and was quite frightened by the sight. The dragon energy converged there, which should have been excellent feng shui, yet he had never seen such perilous feng shui. The place where 7 dragons converged was situated precisely at a crucial point of the dragon vein. Truly an excellent feng shui treasure ground. However, even with the convergence of 7 dragons, there shouldn't have been such extreme dragon energy unless a highly energetic emperor was buried there to produce such thick dragon energy. The terrifying part of this feng shui was that the dragon energy seemed to be bitten off by a giant mouth, constantly being consumed. To put it another way, it was as if some huge, invisible entity, even after death, continued to devour the dragon energy there. Coincidentally, this place was located on the dragon vein, making it seem like the entity had severed the entire dragon vein, swallowing it whole. What could this invisible entity be? Could it be the corpse of that emperor? Or perhaps the emperor hadn't truly died and was continuously consuming the dragon vein here. It's hard to imagine anyone being capable of such a feat. Not even immortals could likely achieve this. This bizarre feng shui convinced the Gu family head that the emperor was indeed buried there. The unknown dangers were immense, yet the allure of the emperor's treasure was too great. The Gu family head did not hesitate any longer and resolutely entered the valley to seek the tomb. In the valley there was a pool of green water. With his skill in dragon seeking and positioning, the Gu family head felt that the dragon eye resided there, where the emperor would most likely be buried. However, dragon seeking and positioning could only determine a general area. To find the entrance, he needed to delve within himself. But it was during this deep dive into the pool that he encountered trouble. Tall trees grew in the pool, their canopies covering the sky. Even with his skill, the Gu family head got lost. He was trapped and eventually died there. He wandered in the pool for almost a month, a journey by his pace that would stretch across several states. Yet he couldn't escape the pool no matter which direction he tried. He had lost hope, thinking he would perish there. In the end, a corpse floated towards him. Even though it was a beautiful corpse in such a place, it frightened him immensely. The female corpse floated upright. Typically, corpses float flat on the water. In the martial world, such an upright corpse was believed to be filled with enormous resentment, a certain evil ghost. Yet the female corpse drifted in front of him, causing him no harm. Wherever he went, the female corpse followed hauntingly. Fear gripped the Gu family head, and he knelt 3 times to the corpse. Afterward, the corpse ceased to trail him and floated forward. During its course, the female corpse glanced back at him. The Gu family head wondered if the corpse was guiding him. The thought was absurd, yet he had no options left, so he followed. He couldn't remember how long he traveled, but eventually, the corpse stopped just as a red sedan chair floated overhead. The female corpse halted there, seemingly indicating that the Gu family head should enter. The Gu family head thought that if he didn't try, he might die soon anyway. Recognizing the miasma in the waters, he realized not even his martial arts grandmaster strength could last much longer. He observed himself over recent days and noticed corpse spots forming on his skin. The Gu family head boarded the sedan chair. In his words, the sedan chair was quickly lifted by something. He wanted to see what was carrying it, yet hesitated. Ultimately, mustering courage, he glanced outside, almost startled out of his wits. He saw what looked like a eunuch, but he called it a thing because, while dressed in eunuch's garb, it was emaciated, like a monkey. He was looking at its back, yet an eye emerged from the back of its head, coldly staring at him. Afterward, the Gu family head didn't dare to glance around. He feared he might be falling for a ghost's trick, that the sedan would take him to a ghost nest, truly making him prey. The Gu family head didn't know how long he remained inside, feeling trapped in a nightmare. Through the sedan's cracks, he glimpsed himself sometimes in the air, other times in water. Eventually, the sedan stopped. When the Gu family head gingerly emerged, the eunuch was gone. All he saw was the stunningly beautiful corpse, and ahead was a gigantic bronze door. Never in his life did he believe such a massive bronze door could exist, yet here it stood, like a divine miracle. The bronze door was half submerged in the water, with the water level just at the lock. The beautiful corpse drifted into the lock. Suddenly, a disturbing and urgent noise issued from within, as if countless ghosts vied to escape through the lock. For a moment, the Gu family head thought the bronze door led to the fabled ghost abyss. When the bronze door eventually swung open, he claimed he saw the ultimate revelation. Seeing the words ultimate, whether it was Duan Yun, Lei Ying, or Ying, they all immediately felt an immense interest. This thing is like the pit dug when writing a book. When you see it here, you are eager to know the meaning of the ultimate. After all, the preceding descriptions related to reaching the front of this bronze door have been extremely bizarre, and Duan Yun once felt even Ziyu couldn't have fabricated such a tale, because it is clearly an absurd and eerie event. Yet through the family head of the Gu family's description, it turns convincing, making Duan Yun and the others feel they personally ventured into that uncanny water, encountering that alluring corpse, and saw that enormous bronze door. The subsequent text becomes somewhat psychedelic. The family head of the Gu family said that when the bronze door opens, he saw the ultimate. But what is the ultimate? In his words, it is already not the human world, or rather, it is in the sky. Behind the bronze door is filled with suffocating dense dragon energy. Because it was too dense, the dragon energy there had become substantial, resembling a strange kind of light. One must know that light cannot be grasped. Yet there the light formed by dragon energy was thread by thread, entwining around. These dragon energies merged together, and the pavilions and towers were right in front yet seemed distant, as if far away. He wanted to approach but never could. Yet he knew it absolutely wasn't a mirage's falsehood. The reason he couldn't touch them was because they and he weren't of the same world. Or rather, in this realm, these pavilion-like palaces were real, and he was entirely illusory. How can the illusory touch the real? Afterward, he saw the dragons. 17 giant dragons were coiled there, pulling a massive bronze coffin. Seen from here, the 17 giant dragons obscured the sky and sun, and due to their enormous size, some were intertwined, writhing and twisting. At that moment, the family head of the Gu family felt immense fear. Because these colossal creatures, legendary and side by side with gods, were alive. Standing under such behemoths, fear rooted deep in his soul quickly spread throughout his body, making him dare not move. Especially when one giant dragon glanced at him, he felt like his 7 souls and 6 spirits were about to leave his body, becoming wandering ghosts, and his corpse would be devoured by the dragon energy, becoming a part of this light. The family head of the Gu family didn't know how long he stood there. According to him, it felt like decades, even hundreds of years. He felt his entire being was going to decay, similar to sea drying up and rocks crumbling, destroyed by the mighty power of time. Suddenly, he blinked. In that blink, everything initially clear retreated, transforming into a different appearance. Then, he found himself changed from illusory to real. Before him remained the vast mausoleum. The 17 dragons still pulled that enormous bronze coffin, only now the dragons were corpses, and he could touch the mausoleum's pavilions. The reason he changed from illusory to real was that he'd emerged from that world. The world he called ultimate. The mausoleum he saw didn't greatly differ from before. Even the dragon bodies seemed similar, but he knew it was an entirely different world. In that world, the dragons were alive, the immortal palace untouchable, even the emperor possibly alive in the bronze coffin. In this world, everything had died. The air still held dragon energy, but these dragon energies seemed dead, like deceased light, thread by thread, dispersing with a wave of his hand. The reason the family head of the Gu family calls that world the ultimate is entirely because he suddenly seemed to have unlocked extraordinary wisdom, perceiving the essence of that world. Mere mortals are always fond of imagining the heavenly court and its immortals govern everything, but the family head of the Gu family believes the world he just saw truly governs all. More accurately, the world he couldn't touch just now is the origin of the world. Everything in this human world will return there, like people returning to the amniotic fluid after death, no, even more primitive. Regarding the question of human origin, many sects have their unique insights, such as the divine doctor from the Jiangzhong sect mentioned a viewpoint that humans originally were apes. Only one day, a small portion of apes had their intelligence awaken, becoming distinct from other apes. They gradually stopped living with other apes and began living alone, gradually transforming into humans. Yet, the broad masses prefer to accept the legend of Nuwa creating humans. Nuwa molded humans with divine soil, thus there were humans in the mortal world. However, the family head of the Gu family at that time believed humans neither transformed from apes nor were molded by Nuwa with divine soil, but came from that world. Or rather, everything in the world came from that world, which bestowed everything in the mortal world, and all things in the mortal world will one day return to that world. That world at the start of everything, called ultimate. The family head of the Gu family believes when the bronze door opened, he entered the world's origin, entered the world of the ultimate. Unfortunately, he still couldn't return there. And now the place he's in, he tends to think of it as a shadow of the ultimate. This shadow alone is enough to change his life. In that divine tomb, he saw the enormous dragon corpses and also the emperor's teachings on martial arts. This emperor and the ultimate must have a profound connection, and the martial arts framework he left in the divine tomb can be called the ultimate in martial arts. Because it is the ultimate in martial arts, its contents are vast as the sea and obscure as the abyss. Even the family head of the Gu family could not comprehend much of it. Or rather, he could only understand a small part of it at that time. And because of the presence of the dragon energy at that time, he could not stay long in that divine tomb. Afterwards, the family head of the Gu family, after comprehending the 10-break ancient strength and dragon-raising skill, was forced to leave. Upon leaving, he saw the corpse of the guiding woman again and brought her out. Later, relying on this cultivation technique, the family head of the Gu family led the martial world, and the Gu family's status rose accordingly. Moreover, the family head of the Gu family regarded the guiding woman's corpse as a deity and enshrined her, calling her Water Guanyin. At that time, the family head of the Gu family had achieved all his dreams. Immense wealth, domineering martial arts, and a status in the martial world as high as the clouds. Yet he was still not satisfied, because he had seen the ultimate of the world, just like having been with the most beautiful woman in the world, he felt that other women always fell short. In Duan Yun's words, it's like having experienced the best overseas education, developing a fondness for English elegance, or perhaps a billionaire meeting her gaze, making ordinary men unappealing. Afterwards, the second half of the family head of the Gu family's life was spent trying to return there. Unfortunately, for some reason, he could never return. So he began raising dragons under the old residence of the Gu family, spending countless resources and lives, constructing the bronze gate from his memory. It can be said that the resources and lives expended here far exceeded the emperor's mausoleum at that time. Unfortunately, the family head of the Gu family could only find slight shadows of that world to comfort himself. Just like the dragons he raised could never become dragons, only remain as snakes. Duan Yun couldn't help but summarize. The divine tomb is a shadow of the ultimate, and this here is a shadow of the divine tomb. What a screwed-up deal. The text of the family head of the Gu family, who had entered the divine tomb and seen the ultimate, is drawing to a close. And the later text is the record of the subsequent family head of the Gu family. The family head of the Gu family, before his death, passed this secret to his descendants, thus establishing the rule that this secret could only be inherited by the family head. And the subsequent family heads of the Gu family never ceased exploring the divine tomb and the ultimate world closely related to it. Unfortunately, according to the records of these family heads, they were never very successful. They went to the Three Treasures Valley, carrying water guanine, planning to retrace that path. This female corpse, whether it had a special connection with the emperor in the divine tomb, was unknown, but as long as it was in that pool, it could always guide the Gu family to find a way forward. However, according to the subsequent descriptions by the family heads of the Gu family, more perilous changes appeared within the Three Treasures Valley, making it dangerous even with water guanine leading the way. Every family head returned severely wounded and wrote down this bloody ancestral instruction. The Three Treasures Valley is extremely perilous, and without mastering the 10-break ancient strength, one must not venture easily. Subsequent generations of family heads of the Gu family had ordinary talent, and not many had fully mastered the 10-break ancient strength, so they did not delve deep into the Three Treasures Valley. Gu Dil, being the most gifted figure in the Gu family for 200 years, had originally mastered the 10-break ancient strength and planned to explore the Three Treasures Valley again, but unfortunately, he encountered old demon Duan and was killed in full glory. Thus, at this moment, be it the Gu family's secret, their wealth, or the wife of the Gu family, it all became exclusive to Duan Yun. The divine tomb runs deep, and the Gu family is too weak. This is something only I can handle. Duan Yun looked at the female corpse, Water Guanine, growing more delighted by the sight. He figured this female corpse might have immense use, perhaps not only as a key but also as a guide. By now, the secrets beneath the old residence of the Gu family had been nearly unraveled. Duan Yun was supposed to go to that divine tomb, but for now what was more pressing was moving this gold mountain and silver mountain back first. The divine tomb might be elusive, but this gold mountain and silver mountain were tangible. If they were to explore the divine tomb, it would have to wait until he had blasted apart the Thunder God and Mother. Duan Yun found the world increasingly interesting, thinking there were only 1 or 2 layers, only to find there were 3 or 4. But moving this gold mountain and silver mountain would not be easy, even though Duan Yun and his 2 companions were considered strong. In the maze-like cavern, Duan Yun first uprooted the golden tree and carried it on his shoulder, then activated the Beiming divine skill, absorbing gold and jewels around him, revealing only his eyes, looking like a warrior dressed in heavy gold and silver armor. Yet even so, only a small part was moved. Little Yin and Lei Ying were naturally of less help, unable to move even half as much as Duan Yun. Lei Ying said, "We can't do it, we'll have to hire people." Duan Yun nodded. "Then we'll hire people after all, now we have plenty of money." In Tianzhou, there was a Heavenly Spring Gang, known for their hardy members, the whole gang specializing in body refinement, best known for their bathing skills. The Heavenly Spring Gang's bathing techniques were famous in 2 states, and despite the high fees, many people came specifically for their bathing expertise. It's said that a woman even cured her infertility after a bath there, thus making the Heavenly Spring Gang even more renowned. And that day, the Heavenly Spring Gang received an enormous task. The task was simple: help move items from Tianzhou to Yun State. Whether the items were valuable or not was unknown, but they knew the reward was extremely high, absurdly high. After completion, 2,000 taels of gold, with a 30% deposit paid up front. Looking at the glittering deposit, the gang leader, Luo Qi, spoke with a serious expression. "It seems this escort mission will be a real test of skill." The Heavenly Spring Gang's main business was bathing, and their side business involved escorting too. But getting paid so much for an escort was a first. Or rather, it was a rare big deal in the whole of Tianzhou. So, gang leader Luo Qi decided to personally oversee the escort. Vice gang leader Li Qi said, "Gang leader, they said this job mostly requires brute strength, so we need to send more people." Luo Qi couldn't help but laugh. Brute strength? Have you ever seen a 2,000-tail brute strength job? The world lacks nothing more than dumb strength. They came to us for our professionalism, for our skill. Since the gang leader said so, Li Qi, the second in command, naturally couldn't argue, especially since the leader often boasted of having eaten more salt than Li Qi had eaten rice. Luo Qi set off with a group of gang members. 3 days later, Luo Qi was carrying 2 baskets of gold on his back, hanging 2 more on his shoulders, and even had a basket of jewels hanging from his training belly button ring, dripping with sweat. He confirmed that this damn job was indeed about brute strength. With so much gold and jewels to move, all the way from Tianzhou to Yun State, what else could it be but a strength job? Originally, he wanted to boast that it was also a skill job, with him alone handling 5 baskets of gold and jewels, requiring skill indeed. But when he saw the silhouette carrying a huge golden tree and covered in gold and jewels, resembling a mountain of gold and silver with a golden tree stuck in it, he stopped mentioning skills. Hell, that was skill. As for the pomp of escorting, requiring both finesse and face-giving skill work, Luo Qi realized it probably wouldn't be needed. Yes, escorting in the martial world usually involves conflicts, but more often, it involves getting respect from the Green Forest heroes, because if every escort involved life and death struggles, how many escorts could die? There are many tricks involved in this. Luo Qi thought such tricks would be necessary this time, but realized they wouldn't be. The mere value of this gold mountain and silver mountain would overwhelm even if his ancestors were dug up. And as for the so-called Green Forest heroes robbing the escort, it had nothing to do with him now. Who would dare rob old Demon Duan's escort? Just seeing Duan Yun resemble a moving gold and silver mountain with a golden tree was enough to terrify anyone. For the first time, Luo Qi had seen so much treasure without feeling tempted. Young hero Duan hiring them for the job was truly an honor. Not only did he not kill their families after moving the stuff, but he also paid them, proving the young hero's righteousness. For the moment, the entire Heavenly Spring gang was moved to tears. The emperor had crafted a palace belonging exclusively to him here, possibly even a heavenly court. Lately, the top headline in the 9 provinces martial world has been old Demon Duan. There's no denying it, he's involved in big matters, killing ruthless people. Just as the duel between Duan Yun and the young master of the Gu family started spreading widely, the very next moment came news that he emptied the Gu family's treasures and moved out with the Gu family young master's wife, Lei Ying, taking away the Gu family's gold mountain and silver mountain. What? Lady Lei Ying was subdued by old Demon Duan, selling off the Gu family's heritage. The man was killed, the wife was taken, and she even assisted the enemy in seizing family assets. In the stormy 9 provinces martial world, who is more miserable than the young master Gu Dil of the Gu family? Be careful with your words about the Gu family. Gu family, Gu family. Now there's nothing left of the Gu family. With the young madame of the Gu family being turned into a star fury by old Demon Duan, what Gu family is left? Jianghu people love to kick others when they're down, especially when it involves the fall of a high and mighty sect. It's as if ants have smelled fresh blood and flesh, inciting their bloodthirsty enthusiasm for discussion. At this moment, someone else mocked, "That guy named Duan is everywhere. Do you think he cultivates an evil skill that grows stronger the more he's discussed? Otherwise, why would he tirelessly stir up such big events and cause so many bloodbaths? He's truly a demon walking out of a sea of blood and corpses. Lower your voice. Don't you value your life? Why should I be afraid? This is Qingzhou, and my uncle guards the gates of the White Sox sect. I just can't stand this guy. He's definitely cultivating a demon technique. Otherwise, why would he recklessly seek fame?" the person said angrily. He enjoyed the downfall of the Gu family while also detesting how the young Duan Yun stole the spotlight yet dared to challenge the invincible White Sock divine sect which he's not even part of but greatly respects. Perhaps there are other reasons? Other reasons? What reasons could there be? Surely he doesn't just want to be a hero. Definitely not. If Duan Yun were here to hear these comments, he would likely make them grovel on the ground begging for mercy, calling him hero in their fear. What do you mean, definitely not? This young hero's every action is for becoming a hero. This is called not forgetting one's original intention. Understand that. Of course, this is only a part of the rumors about young hero Duan. As for Duan Yun's victories, the bloodthirsty storyteller always chooses silence, for after the battle in Ishui City, their resentment towards Duan Yun deepened. Not only did they suffer heavy losses, but their bloodthirsty elite and the precious green Tai Sui meat were destroyed. Even Tai Sui was disturbed, and the sect leader had to sacrifice himself to barely placate Tai Sui's temper. Now what circulates from their mouths are new rumors about Duan Yun. These rumors aren't entirely baseless. There's some truth to them. The bloodthirsty storyteller always mingles two lies among three truths to increase the credibility and topic interest of the rumor. If you want a rumor to spread worldwide, the topic must be potent. For instance, the rumor they're spreading now is full of strength and discussion. That rumor is Old Demon Duan is collecting the elite martial artifacts of the world for his own use. Previously, Shun Ying appeared briefly in Ishui City, and her delicate white silk appearance was noticed by experts as the Nine Deaths Dream Girl. The Nine Deaths Dream Girl once dominated the Tianzhou elite martial artifact rankings. In terms of elite martial artifact profundity and status, even today's #1 elite martial artifact of Tianzhou, Lei Ying, falls short. First, the young master's wife, Tianzhou's #1 elite martial artifact, Lei Ying, was captured by Duan Yun, and now accompanied by the Nine Deaths Dream Girl. These rumors of Old Demon Duan collecting elite martial artifacts are easy to believe. The elite martial artifact women of the world are neither too many nor too few. Tianzhou is a major province for elite martial artifacts, where the elite martial artifact women are most significant. However, the 9 provinces often vie against each other, and other provinces also have corresponding elite martial artifacts emerging. If we only consider top elite martial artifacts not counting irrelevant lists, there should be about 100 women across the 9 provinces. These elite martial artifact women are the lifelong dreams of many Jianghu men, not only offering beauty but also fame and fortune. Just like how young Master Gu Dil was hopelessly devoted to Lei Ying, ultimately these elite martial artifacts typically belong to the mighty. Many grandmasters and expert martial artists enjoy praising each other's wives as illustrious martial artifacts. To these experts, an elite martial artifact wife is a display item on par with martial arts prowess and influence. Especially in one province, whose wife's ranking is higher means her man stands taller. There was once a time when the fiercest competition in the Jianghu was not for the top 10 martial artists rankings but the elite martial artifact women's contest. The elite martial artifact competition was fiercer and more intricate than the race for the top 10 martial artists. The top 10 martial artists compete for rankings, where one duel determines the victory, while the elite martial artifact competition requires not just strength but also a campaign of public opinion, with many men lavishly spending gold to promote their wives. Of course, women too have moments they cannot sit still, or to say women are naturally jealous. When one woman is pressed by another for too long, it's dignified to issue a challenge, but sneaking a knife attack is common. Such situations often lead to two major powers clashing fiercely. In essence, at the height of elite martial artifact competition, the Jianghu was rife with bloody storms sparked by this competition. Later on, people realized this was not a sustainable practice and thus formed circles of mutual praise. Although today's competition is no longer as financially deadly as before, elite martial artifact women are still not something ordinary martial artists can possess. The saying, "A famous instrument should only belong to the strong," has never been empty words. Once, there was the Bane Blade Emperor, whose wife was the second most renowned beauty in Qingzhou, Shueling. Later, the Bane Blade Emperor suddenly grew tired of the killing in the martial world and decided to live a pastoral life. Who would have thought that the always loving Mrs. Mingqi, Shueling, would have an affair with another? When caught by him, Shueling actually had the audacity to say he couldn't give her the life she wanted. She always wanted a life of splendor and prestige, while the so-called pastoral life of the Bayin Blade Emperor was disgraceful and imprisoning for her. Afterwards, Shuang left with her lover, without the slightest hesitation. The Bayin Blade Emperor, plunged into the depths of heartbreak, tragically ended his life. When he died, his body was covered with the carved name of his wife, Shuang. A dignified Blade Emperor died so disgracefully. It shows that the waters run deep with women of fame, and ordinary people can't really handle them. Thus, women known as famous instruments are generally in the hands of notable and powerful men. The bloodthirsty storytellers spread this rumor to turn the world's powerhouses against Duan Yun. Old Demon Duan has a penchant for collecting the world's renowned female instruments, who just happen to be the women of powerful men, directly meaning he wants to snatch women from the powerful. There's a saying, isn't there, that a proper lady is never lent out? These powerful people are both reputable and influential, and innately competitive. How could they allow such a thing to happen? In the bloodthirsty storyteller's plan, the scene of old Demon Duan being besieged to death by a multitude of heroes is already foreseeable. No matter how strong old Demon Duan is, can he contend with hundreds of powerful men? Bear in mind that behind hundreds of strong individuals are hundreds of martial world factions. According to the bloodthirsty storyteller's prediction, some powerhouses were already planning to make the first move. For the forte of powerful men is the preemptive strike. We can only say the bloodthirsty storyteller's guess was right, yet not entirely right. The first to make a move was the Tang sect. The Tang sect in Yu State and Duan Yun had little entanglement. Only some connection with young Master Tang Yu's Little Bao. Old Demon Duan once imparted a cultivation technique to Tang Yu's Little Bao. Tang Yu's Little Bao knew this demon technique must have issues and dared not practice it himself, so he had his trusted aides practice it. Who would have thought this cultivation technique really had big problems? Among his close aides, two of whom were cousin brothers since childhood, all turned into women after practicing it. After becoming fallen, the cousin brothers became cousin sisters. The two newly transformed cousin sisters even married Tang Yu's Little Bao, leading a seemingly happy life for a time. Yet Tang Yu's Little Bao always lived uneasily. After that incident, he stayed within the Tang family castle, not stepping out. The elders of the Tang family confidently said, "No matter how formidable old Demon Duan is, would he dare make trouble in our Tang sect? The Tang sect is a forbidden place, a thunder pool for the Jianghu people. Even as emperors come and go, the Tang sect remains unscathed. Such is the confidence of the Tang sect. But as Duan Yun's renown grows outside, and as the number of families he exterminates increases, those previously self-assured Tang elders were less inclined to boast. That left Tang Yu's Little Bao even more uneasy, especially since that day it was Duan Yun who passed on the cultivation to him. He had others practice it while he himself did not. Wouldn't that be disrespectful to young hero Duan if word got out? This originally wasn't a big deal, especially since he didn't officially take him as a master. Facing this origin unknown cultivation technique, not practicing it is just common sense. But with old Demon Duan, you can't rely on common sense, and everyone knew by now how small-minded he was. What if old Demon Duan got angry over it? By then, the supposedly impenetrable Tang family castle might not even be safe. That's the worry of Tang Yu's Little Bao, and a concern within the Tang sect as well. The current family head of the Tang sect was thinking about this too. Not only could his son, Tang Yu's Little Bao, potentially anger old Demon Duan, but he himself might have also offended him, because his wife and Tang Yu's Little Bao's stepmother is the #1 renowned beauty in Yu State. If old Demon Duan wants to collect the famous female instruments of the world, wouldn't it eventually be their turn? And for his wife, absolutely not, definitely not. Logically speaking, even if old Demon Duan is formidable, he wouldn't target the Tang sect considering its immense heritage and the impregnable Tang family castle dominated with hidden weapons across the world. It's hard upon hard. But what if? What if old Demon Duan is just that formidable, just that crazy? After all, the Gu family serves as a cautionary tale. Thus, the Tang sect decided to strike first. They wanted to take action before other holders of famed instruments among the powerful. And so, the Tang family head promptly decided to marry off his third daughter, Tang Wanwan, to old demon Duan. No other reason than that Tang Wanwan is the most beautiful and charming of the Tang clan's ladies, and his most beautiful daughter with his renowned wife. The battle for the title of renowned beauties in Yu State is fierce, but over the years, a monopoly has formed, meaning unless a truly exceptional new beauty suddenly appears, the title of famous instrument can be inherited. Tang Wanwan has just blossomed into a young lady, with a body extremely sensitive and agile like her mother's, especially her dexterous 10 fingers known as the 10 clear immortal spirit finger, worthy of being called the most agile fingers in the human world, the reason her mother became the #1 beauty in Yu State. Now swiftly handing down to her daughter the title of #1 renowned beauty in Yu State, making Tang Wanwan the most youthful famed instrument, and presenting her to old demon Duan. Isn't that a sincere enough gesture? If old demon Duan were a bit more ordinary and decent, perhaps the two families could even become relatives. Then he would be old demon Duan's father-in-law, and what would he have to worry about? The Tang family head suddenly felt his decision was wise and brilliant, even considering himself to possess extraordinary wisdom. To act quickly, he promptly set this plan in motion. By forceful action, disregarding any opposition. Even though Tang Wanwan and Shao family's young master, Shao Yan, were engaged, not even this could stop him from sending his daughter. Thus, that very day, the Tang family head decided to take Tang Wanwan to break off the engagement. Tang family castle, with fortress-like pavilions, had at its center an enormous purple blossom tree. Tang Yu's little Bao's training room faced this tree, which filled the room with a serene floral fragrance. At this moment, a silhouette flickered by the entrance, and in came a girl in green attire. With brows like ink and an elegant demeanor, she appeared refined and dignified, yet her beautiful eyes were lively. She always wore a smile, sweet and charming, her eyes forming crescent moons when she smiled, capable of enchanting any man. Such a girl, even in the Tang family castle, there was only one. Miss Tang Wanwan, the third young lady of the Tang sect. Her mother, Lady Tang, is the most beautiful young lady in the Tang sect, and thus she is the most beautiful maiden. Her beauty carried a hint of cunning. From a young age, her siblings suffered many little losses at her hands. A girl like her was rarely at a disadvantage, unless a man's heart was made of stone. But a man's heart rarely is like stone. Facing a woman like her, it softens like bread. Tang Yu's little Bao also suffered many little losses from this sister of his. As she walked in, seeming somewhat angry, Tang Yu's little Bao cautiously asked, "Third sister, what happened to you?" Tang Wanwan wrinkled her nose, saying angrily, "It's all your fault. I have to cancel my engagement." "What? Call off the engagement with Shao family's young master Shao Yan?" "Ah? I can't have too many engagements, can I?" Tang Yu's little Bao asked. "Why? If it weren't for you." "Me? It's your fault. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have to break off my engagement to give a gift to old demon Duan." Tang Wanwan explained. "Wait, what's the connection between a gift and breaking off the engagement?" Tang Yu's little Bao asked. Tang Wanwan replied, "Because I am the gift." "What? Humph. Do you get it now? You see why I have to go break things off. I'm done talking to you. I'm going to end the engagement now." Saying this, she walked away gracefully. Tang Yu's little Bao looked at the slightly upset back of his sister and thought dazedly, "Why does it seem like she's looking forward to this?